never slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. You're the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you are behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some honestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage in this thread. I'll be great one day, going.
Good evening, everyone. Here we are. It's Wednesday again.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, Wednesday again. How are you all?
Do I have something here?
Yes, you do. With your finger. Okay.
I didn't check the mirror first.
Well,
Okay.
indelible.
Let's see. We have John Marciano. Welcome, John. And my good wife and Vern, Sky Graham, Dallas. We know that Gary Alt is backstage. Beverly Harward and Ruby Quinn. Hi, Ruby. We've got a great show tonight. We've got a lineup of some life coaches and a therapist and another guest coming on.
Yep.
He's got a philosophy of his own.
Yeah, helpers all. Just everyone. Call them friends. But serious friends. Friends who are serious about giving and adding. That's what a friend is. A friend is a friend, a person who comes to you in need, in your need. And you are that same sort of person to go in the other person's need. We're all friends, each in a specific way, special way.
Hi, Dallas. Glad to have you with us. And so, yeah, the theme is talk to a therapist. And the reason why we came up with that theme is because last Thursday, Joe and I went to see a therapist, our third time. This was a new therapist because the original psychiatrist had retired. And so we thought, it was time to go back and, let them know what's going on with us.
Yeah.
And we told her about the ExJW community. And she had no idea about Jehovah's Witnesses because she was young, very young, but very compassionate, very interested.
Yeah.
And maybe sometime we can have her on the program.
Yeah.
But
and the clue there is really in the theme and the wording, talk to a therapist. not just with a therapist, but specifically talk to a therapist. And we'll develop that as we go.
Right. So let's make sure we said hello to everyone. Hello, Rebecca. Rob Burns. Hi, Rob. Thanks for joining us. And as we see everyone coming in, we'll say hello if we can. So shall we get into the announcements?
Might as well. We do every Wednesday. This is another Wednesday.
This is another one. We're still in April. So we have April birthdays, April anniversaries. If you know of anyone that has a birthday or an anniversary in April, please let us know. We can add them onto the ExJWFriends. That's our website, not just ours, but that's also for Discord. There's so many different channels on Discord. So if you just go on ExJWFriends, you'll see, you'll see the birthdays, you'll see anniversaries, you'll see meetups, and all the different Discord channels that are on. So let's go right into the birthdays this month, April 1st.
Can you see that?
Yeah, can you make it just a little bigger, Shauna? Sorry. Yeah, she'll make it bigger. Okay, April 1st, Donna Zuck Adley. Donna, Bunny Wallace, Mary Parsons, and Dehydrated Nurse. That's an interesting name. April 2nd, John Miller, Wild Wall, Apasta Dude, and Jackie Jacks. April 3rd, Sylvia Fetcher. I'm still not sure how to say it.
Let us know.
April 4th, Kenny Carpenter. April 8th, Corey Martis. And also from the Discord, I'm at one with the Force, was 56 years old. Do you want to do some?
Yeah. April 9th is Yanara Vacalo. April 10th is Sunny M. April 11th is Tina, Debbie's daughter, and Mads Avenue. Is that someone else?
That's someone we know.
Okay, Mads Avenue.
We knew her from a little girl.
We know you. I don't know who your name is.
Too. Madison.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oops. April 12th, Steph woke up. Sarah Sorhai, Ab L. Barton, and Jack, who is Johnny's son, and Jacob, who is Michelle's son, 32 years old, celebrating his birthday for the first and special time. Mr. CIA's wife, yes, April 14th, Martha Irwin, and Martin Riley. Want to pick up?
April 15th, Dana Bell. April 17th, Rebecca Hayes. Also Ruby, Robin Pittio, and another Stephanie. April 18th, Josh and Jake Randall. Obviously, they're twins. Alexis Lambert, Connor Marshman. April 20th, Linda Kiefer, Michelle Martinez.
On April 21st, tall, cool woman, we'll call that. Trisha. Also, April 24th, Espy. Michelle's daughter, 16 years old. April 25th, Emily Anderson. April 26th, Jay, 47 years old. April 27th, Maria Torres. And April 28th, Errol. April 29th, Liza Kunson. And Dan and David Tortorella. April 30th, Ashley Campbell.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. And many more.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
Now you got a mic on?
Oh my gosh, I forgot to bring the mics in.
But our sound was good.
Yeah. Okay, anniversaries this month. We have April 10th, Vic and Gretchen Cruz. April 13th, Mike and Eva Arnold. And April 20th, Bob and Nancy Scott. Happy anniversary. And if you know them,
we're about to have a beautiful time. About to throw a party tonight. Hey, it's been a really long day for me. I should be living my life. Hey, because time won't wait for me. I ought to throw a party tonight. Hey, me and my friend, and I'll be happy that I made it. Yeah, to the end of the day. That's right. So I guess I throw a party tonight. Hey.
happy anniversary. And we want to thank Shauna and Vern for putting those little songs together. They do a lot for the channel. We wouldn't be able to be here without them.
We just sit here. They do the channel. We thank you for that, Shauna and Verna. You do it great.
Okay, so meetups. Again, this is all on ExJWFriends. What did I do? Lose it here. Okay, never mind. So April 16th, that's tonight, Fixing My Faith with Joe and Fran Talk to a Therapist. April 19th, between 4 and 6 p.m., there is a meetup in Rockville, Maryland, ex-Jehovah's Witness meetup. It's going to be at Matchbox 1699 Rockville Pike, Rockville, Maryland. Hello, fellow freethinkers, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and let's meet up, have a beverage or snack and chat. We can talk about our past experiences, present challenges or whatever else is on your mind. And again, the location is closest to Twin Brook Metro. There's free parking at the restaurant. Okay, what about May 17th?
Oh, me? Meetup, Orange County, thank you. Orange County area, California, May 17th at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Finney's Craft House, 204 West Chapman Ave, Orange, California, May 17th, Saturday, 7 p.m.
And that's the same group that was just in the last one.
Oh, boy.
Which was, I forget the name, Burbank. That was in Burbank, the last one. Of course, we have our meetup coming up May 18th. It's the ExJW Excellent Chicken Barbecue meetup, May 18th, starting at 1 p.m. And Dinah Lost made up this invitation. Let's see if we can kind of zoom in on this invitation. May 18th, 2025 at 1 p.m. The address is 9910 Brown Tract Circle, Remsen, New York, on the lake. And it's at the Kiefer's house, our friends Matt and Linda Kiefer. Please bring a dish, snacks, or drinks to share, and please RSVP me by Fran, and our phone number is 315-221-0130. We expect a big turnout. We have San Diego, Faded in San Diego is coming. He's flying in. That's why we're having this meetup, so everyone can meet him. He's flying in from San Diego, California. We have Dinah Lost and her family are coming, and Mr. and Mrs. Bob from Massachusetts.
One of those states.
Massachusetts. Mr. and Mrs. Bob, Massachusetts. And then we're having friends from Rochester, New York, Albany, New York, all over. And of course, our local friends. So if you can make that, that's going to be May 18th. Please let us know. What's happening August 1st?
August 1st. Still alive in 2025. ExJW convention. I have to say ExJW.
I'll have to connect that. I'll have to correct that, yeah.
Because that's in contrast with any others. An ExJW convention put on by, and this is all put together by 6 Screens Talent Network. Of course, that's Rick Fearon. someone who's done such wonderful work for the past 20 years and is still, and we salute you for it, Rick. We do. It's arranged and organized. Speakers, whoop, there it is. There, request more.
Yeah.
And the, whoops.
Mhm.
Arranged and organized. Speakers, whoop, there it is.
Okay.
And it says your free ticket. Free ticket. Note you can request more than one. Email a request to jwworldnews@gmail.com. And that would be Rick Fearon's channel. Join us.
It'll be 3 days, August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We will be there, and a lot of folks will be there. We can meet up, and it'll be really, and it's going to be a really
It's going to be
big.
very,
It's the
epic.
first. Yeah,
Epic.
It's the first
historic.
ExJW.
It's more than you can even state at this point. We don't know. There never has been one before.
Mhm.
So this is history. Good.
Yes.
It's in the making.
And if you missed it, it's in Tewksbury, Massachusetts, at the Hilton. It's right at the Hilton. You can get rooms right there at the Hilton. It'll be really easy if you can't find rooms there. There'll be plenty of other places, but it should be a really, really historical time, right?
Mhm.
Historical?
Oh, historic.
Historic time. And then in September, we're planning ahead, but we have to plan, like they say. If you fail to plan to fail.
Yeah, but we don't. Well, we just plan.
That's right.
We just plan.
So Las Vegas, Nevada, ex-Jehovah's Witness meetup, September 26th, 8 a.m. starting in the morning till September 27th till 5 p.m. So it's a 2-day ex-Jehovah's Witness meetup. And more information will be coming soon on that. So I think we got all the meetups, and hopefully we'll get to see some of you there. Let's see who else is in the chat that we missed. Welcome Jane Spitfire and Ricky Bobby. Nadine, hi Nadine. Nadine from California. ST Copilot. Let's see, Maverick, 587 Maverick. And I think I got all of those. Who else came on after Ricky Bobby? Wild Wall. Hey, Wild Wall. Glad you're on.
Glad everybody's in.
Yes, glad to see you all. Yvonne. And just don't want to miss anyone. If we missed you, please let us know. But like we said tonight, did we do all the announcements? Oh, I just wanted to make an announcement that, and I hope she's watching because she's going to try to be watching, is Amy, if you're watching. Amy, where's Amy? Hold on just a second. Amy just had surgery yesterday, and she's in the hospital. She should be watching. Amy Huber. We met her in the Philadelphia meetup. She just had surgery yesterday, so she hopefully will be watching. And we want to send her some positive energy, positive vibrations. Yep. And Linda Egan, she had her surgery last week, and she said it was a success. The doctor did a really good job. She appreciated all the shout outs that we gave to her and her family. Our brother-in-law, David Podos, he had his surgery and he is recovering. So if anyone knows of anyone that has surgery coming up, we know Debbie was supposed to have it, but she had to cancel it because she got sick and they couldn't do the surgery. So please let us know, either, text us. Our text information will be up in a little bit. Email us. Okay, Nadine said, Fran, the meetup in Orange County on May 17th says it will start at 3 p.m. That was posted on Facebook. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you for the correction. Debbie Moore, hi, I'm just watching. Monday, I am having surgery. Okay, Debbie, we'll be thinking of you. We hope it all turns out well and that you're going to be getting some quick recovery on your foot because it's been a long, drawn out. It's not the first surgery you've had on it, so we hope it all works out.
Yep.
Okay, thanks for letting us know. And if anyone else knows of anyone that's sick or in the hospital, please keep us posted because we want to keep you all in our thoughts. And anything else? Okay, I think we're all caught up there on the announcements.
If anyone else has anything to announce that they feel is important, just give us a call. Let us know. You can call us now and let us know.
Okay.
What else do you
Well,
have?
we invited, but we never heard a response.
I'm here for the ride. You go ahead. You're doing
Well, just
great.
we invited Stephen Hassan, or some say Hassan.
Did you invite Trump too?
No, but we did not
Come on.
we didn't get a reply from Stephen. But this is one of his books, Combating Cult Mind Control. And after being in a cult, he was not a Jehovah's Witness. He was with the Moonies. He became a therapist because nothing better than if you've been in a cult and once you got out is to go to school for it and help others that are leaving. But anyway, Stephen could not make it tonight. But we have Gary Alt backstage. He's going to be with us. He wrote Bethel Days. It was all about his experience at Bethel. We've had him on before. He talked about Bethel, but now he is a life coach. So Gary's going to be talking about that. We tried to get Bonnie Zeman on, but like she said, she gets so many invites that she has to say no to everyone. But this is one of her books, Shunned, a Survival Guide, and she was a Jehovah's Witness. We also, she's got another book, Exiting the JW Cult. That's by Bonnie Zeman. We did get in touch with Debbie Glander, if anyone's out in the California area. Debbie Glander was a witness, and she is now a therapist. So if you need any of these emails or websites or how to get in touch with these folks, just let us know. Elle Reno, we asked Elle if she could come on, but she was not able to. And then Dr. Ryan Lee, he was also a Jehovah's Witness, and he left and he became a doctor, psychiatrist, and unfortunately he was not able to come on. But we do have, like I said, we have Gary Alt, a life coach. We have Malia Thompson that's going to be coming on. She was a witness and is a life coach. We also have Rob Green is going to be coming on. He was just interviewed by Barbara Anderson last Saturday on Rick's program. And we have a local therapist. His name is Craig, and he was one of our customers. We got talking to him, and he said he was a therapist and he'd like to come on the show sometime. Well, lo and behold, this afternoon he called us and he said, "Hey, you still doing your show?" And we go, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I'd like to come on. Can you send me the link?" And we said, "Well, coincidentally, we are talking about talk to a therapist." So he's going to come on a little bit later. He's got a large family.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Put your
Okay.
feet over here. No, I'll put them
Right
right.
there.
No, I know. I got my own.
Oh, it's yours.
That way we don't have to bump each other.
That's good.
Thank you.
That's great.
Anyway, Craig's going to join us a little later too. But you want to start? Since I did all the
You did great.
talking.
No,
I'm going to go get some more water. I'll be back.
okay, what do I say now?
Talk to a therapist. I'll be right back.
Yeah, talk to a therapist. That was nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was just thinking about this. There are ones who have written books, which is so helpful. And obviously they had a desire and a need to express themselves, to put it out there, to share it. And we appreciate that. And to put it out where others can engage with it. It's as if they're talking to them. You know, it's personal. Books, they say, are very personal. It's as if you're being spoken to directly by the person. And it's just you and them. You identify, you connect. And so that's a beautiful thing. The other way we do it is personal, is face to face, or in a group like this, like any other groups. You're speaking, you're sharing yourself, you're listening to someone else sharing themselves. And what you're all doing is really, you're friends who are being open, others basically seeking a friend. So there's friends offering themselves, and one's seeking a friend. That's basically what you can look at therapy that way. And sometimes it gets very specific as to, well, not only do I need or could use a friend, but also in this specific way, which is fine, because sometimes a friend has questions, or they lack the knowledge that they need, or the understanding, or maybe they lack the concern, they lack the support. They could lack something, or maybe they're filled up with too much of something, like maybe too much worry, too much concern, too much anxiety, too much fear, too much. We can handle just about anything, but if it's too much, we can't handle it. We need the help of a friend. And by the same token, we can be a friend to that person, to anyone, in our capacity as well. Call that therapy, call that friendship, call it whatever you want. But it's people helping people, sharing with what we have. And it's a beautiful thing. Well, now this thing with ExJWs, they're just one group. There's many different groups that seek friends or are being friends, like the ones who write these books. You see, they're offering their friendship. Well, friends seek friends, friends offer friendship, and friends accept others' friendship. Consider that as therapy. And at the same time, don't think of it just as a one-way street. It's really not. You may think it's just a one-way thing, but see, the person who's helping, well, there's something they're seeking as well. And they're not just seeking to change your mind the way they wanted to. They're seeking to help. They're seeking to help, to know that they've helped. So basically, we can help them by opening yourself up to be helped. It's an interaction. It's a beautiful interaction. It really is. And in this case in particular, an ExJW, a person who was a Jehovah's Witness, or maybe they still are, but they're working their way out. And it's difficult, PIMOs. It's difficult because they know they're going to lose. They know there's going to be some upset. They know there's going to be some hard feelings. They know it. But they also know there's going to be a good gain, an improvement, or something to restore something, to establish something that's good. Well, they need the assistance, all do, of a therapist. But at the same time, we ExJWs or JWs are in a position to help the therapist to understand who they're talking to. They may not know who they're talking to. Well, you think about it, you come in cold, they don't know you at all. And what do? Well, they start asking questions and listening to you. Well, who are you? I'm this, and what about this and that? Well, I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I heard that's a nice religion. Huh. oh, they don't understand about Jehovah's Witnesses. The only thing they know about Jehovah's Witnesses is that they come to the door at the wrong time. And they come back at the wrong time. And maybe they employed Jehovah's Witnesses and they have certain experiences with them. Maybe they don't. Maybe they know deeper things about them. In most cases, they don't know about witnesses in the way that you know and I know about Jehovah's Witnesses. And unless they do, they're really not going to be able to offer you the support, the direction, the insight, the special insight that you need to go forward. So you're in a position, we're in a position to red pill them, basically, to inform them, to bring them up to speed, to help them actually get the feel of what it means to be involved in that organization, that cult, that criminal activity, whatever that is. They need to understand that. And what we've noticed from talking to different ones, they really don't know. Some do know. Some know that there's frequent suicides in amongst the witnesses. There's also that same thing among other people as well. So they do understand some things, but they need to know the depth of your situation to understand where you're coming from and to where you want to go. You're in a position to share that. You need to witness to them because you know how, and they need to know. You're not trying to enlist them. You're trying to basically inform and warn them and alert them as to what the witnesses have done and how it's affected you and others. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. You're in a wonderful position to help them and also to exchange that help. Interesting. One of the ways, and I'll show you here, and we've shared it before, that you can let people know about.
Make sure it's the right one. That was the original one here.
Oh, I got you. To let people know, basically, it is like offering this. I don't know if you can see it okay. And if you can't see it, we'll tell you what it says. It says, beware of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's on a card. To every person that comes in our shop, after we're through with business, whatever, we offer them this. We tell them we were Jehovah's Witnesses. We are no longer, and warning people against them and why. And in many cases, it results in a very deep conversation, informative conversation. Others, they carry away the information. Maybe it's going to mean something to them. We're doing our part. We wanted to. What else do you have to say with that as far as therapists and this?
Yeah, it's really crucial to let the therapist know because, like, we were with the therapist for an hour and basically we talked about Jehovah's Witnesses. She asked a little bit about us, how we're doing, and even took Joe's vitals.
Oh, yeah.
Which was interesting.
Yeah.
You know, blood pressure, and asked if you had been feeling depressed, if you had any suicidal thoughts, things like that. So they do ask a lot of questions,
which is good.
Which is good because we need to, have someone to talk to about that. I know someone in the chat earlier put a post out and said, "I'm depressed," and I wrote to her and I said, "Got to watch the program tonight." So, and there's reasons for depression. I mean, sometimes
there's a lot of reasons for depression.
Sometimes depression lasts maybe just a day, maybe sometimes it goes on for years.
And depression is long, is extended.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like, oh, I'm feeling down today.
Right.
It's not depression.
Right. So it's important that we know the
Yeah.
difference. So
Yeah.
maybe you were just feeling down today, but maybe it's an ongoing thing, which is understandable. So in that respect, talking to someone about it, whether it's a therapist, a life coach, a friend, anyone that you can talk to about it really helps.
And they're going to identify things that trigger that depression, things that make whatever situation into a depression that you don't realize. You may realize, well, I've been doing such and such all my life. I never realized it could have that effect. And therapist realizes it has a profound effect on that.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't know. And that's what it's about. It's imparting knowledge, information.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is not a religious program. And this is not about the Bible. But in many cases, the words of the Bible are absolutely, precisely true. And one of them is, I don't remember where it comes from, but it states that my people will suffer for lack of knowledge. Now, it's rendered different ways in different Bibles. But the point is, what you don't know could very well hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
We need to know. There's many things in our life we get into. If we don't know enough about it, we're going to make the wrong decision. Or we're going to ignore something that we should give attention to. Oh, I wish I knew, I would have such and such.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, had I known, I would have avoided. Or why didn't anyone tell me that? Knowledge, it's knowledge. That's where the therapist, counselor, coach can help you with that deeper knowledge. You need deeper knowledge. Go get it. Go get it. They can help with it.
Mm-hmm.
They can point you where. They're not fountains of knowledge, but they can help you to, find those fountains of knowledge in different places.
Yeah. Yeah. And Gigi made a good point. She said, that's Gail. She said, if you see a therapist, make sure you find one that deals with occults, as a lot of therapists might not have the experience. Not all therapists are equal. Yeah, it may take a while to find the right therapist.
But let's say Gigi or anyone else here, I really like this person. That we kind of click together. I feel that they really care. They don't know much about it, but you know what? I can let them know. I'm the one that's going to tell them all about this cult. And maybe you find they're all ears. They want to know. You can pull out your phone or iPad and show them, look, here's ExJW. There's thousands of videos on ExJW.
Mm-hmm.
Show them. You're in a commanding position. Look, it's like that you were a pioneer and you went to the door and you're going to show somebody everything you know about this incredible Bible or whatever you want to do. Well, now you're doing it with the Watchtower and all the nefarious things that they're about and the problems that they cause. You are in that commanding position to bring them up to speed. Trust me, they don't know. Not unless they studied, in which case they didn't. I'll tell you why. Because what the Watchtower did, they were masters at being frauds and at making themselves look so good, hiding their badness. They've done that. They've done that. But now everybody's realizing they're frauds. They're absolute frauds. So what had happened previously, they didn't bother with Jehovah's Witnesses because, they've got their own shepherds. They're wonderful shepherds too. So their people are well cared for. Okay. And look at them. They're so well dressed. Oh, look at them. They this. And it's the biggest fake out in the world is what it boils down to. Well, you're in a position now to help them get straightened out as to what this organization really is. and what the people have been put through, you're there. You're the one. You are the one.
Shauna just let me know that Gail is backstage. Gary is also backstage. Malia will probably be on at 8 o'clock, and the rest will be on in a little bit. Can we just say hello to
Please.
Fallen Ashes?
Hello, Ashes.
And also, we want to say hello because we missed some folks. We don't want to leave anyone out. Adrian Mully, hello.
Adrian.
And of course, Gigi. And let's see, Rich Q Journeys, Rich Q's Journey.
Huh.
Today I found out that I work with an ExJW. Wow.
Oh, sweet.
So Rich.
Oh, that's another thing. You
Yeah.
don't have your pen, do you?
Oh, no. They're over there. I forgot. I had it on my coat. Rich, are you an ex-Jehovah's Witness? Or some like to be called a former Jehovah's Witness? They don't like the ex, whatever works for you. Now, the real love. Yesterday, the little thing triggered me when my JW mom didn't want to go on the cruise because the CO visit was the same week as the cruise. Now, Del Real Love has an interesting story. She's got a channel, but when she woke up, her mom's still a witness, but apparently her mom is talking to her now after having shunned her for the time that she's been out. And, you can't expect too much from them, Del Real Love, because they're still mentally in, even though they may be talking to you, which is a good thing, which is really good. It takes time, especially if they're older, especially if they've been in that organization a long time. You cannot expect, their loyalty, unfortunately, is going to be to that organization.
They're going to be in tremendous conflict, and it's stressful for them. There are emotions that they have to go through that takes time. It can't.
Okay.
You can rush it, but it doesn't. It doesn't work that way. For some, it takes more time than others. So it's good to be sensitive to that.
Yeah, Rich Q said, Jane, I told her I am an ex-JW, and she told me she was too. We nearly passed out. It's good when you find someone.
Well, look, you can walk around in public, and maybe there's ex-JWs all around you, but you never know it because they're not going to say, hey, I've been fading, and, well, they don't want people to know it.
Okay.
They're trying to stay under the radar, so to speak.
Right.
Or whatever like that. So what we do, because we want to find out who's around us, we had these pins made up, ExJW, and we wear them so that somebody
Better wear mine.
sees and looks and says,
Thank you.
sometimes they'll ask, oh, what's X? No, that's X without the
Right,
what's
yeah.
called.
These were the first ones we made without the dots. So they thought we were ex-Jews.
Yeah, they look quick and look like ex-Jew. But they'll ask, what is that? What is ExJW?
Yeah, I was having my nails done the other day, and the fella, I had my pin on, and he said, what's a ExJW? And so I got a chance to witness to him, unwitness, and I gave him a card. So, anybody, anywhere can be a potential unwitness. Shaq says hi. Shaq has a funny story about the
that's a great
memorial.
one.
Maybe, Shaq, you can come on
Yeah.
when you get a chance and tell us your memorial
Yeah,
experience.
we'd like to hear it. Sure.
Rob needs to come on. He needs to know how to come on. So anyone, we also have Annie backstage, Gail backstage. So
Let's get this show
Rob
going.
Green wants backstage. So all you have to do is go to the top of the chat, go to the live chat, and go to the top where it says Fixing My Faith. Go to
Big bar, big black
the banner,
bar with
yeah.
banner with the orange or whatever, yellow and blue. Just click on that.
Yep, and that'll bring you into StreamYard. If you want to show your face, you can. We hope you can, because like therapists say, it's better when you have facial contact, eye to eye. But if you can't because you're still trying to be PIMO, we understand.
Yeah, that's
So we just appreciate you coming on.
that's a point you really can't underestimate. You can speak to somebody on the phone. You can speak to somebody just
Okay.
ear to ear, voice to ear without seeing the eyes. But you will miss so much.
Yeah.
And so much will be overlooked. And it's low quality. It's a very low quality way of communicating. If you want to engage with the best communication, face to face.
So Shauna said, we have Annie, Gail, Rob Green, Gary, and Richard Wright are all backstage. Shall we bring them all
I
on?
would like
Or
to.
should we bring them on one at a time?
No, let's all come on at once.
Okay, we know how to listen.
like
we
this-
know how to wait until the other
This is a living
person's
room.
talking.
This is a living room.
Yep.
We can this is not a book study. This is a living room where people sharing
Hi, Gail.
conversation.
Thank you for turning your camera on, Gail.
Yeah.
Hi, Rob. Thank you for turning your camera on. And let's see, is that Gary is waiting to come on? And is that Annie?
Yep, that's me.
Hi, Annie.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I
There's-
don't. Sorry, I don't turn my camera on.
Yes,
That's
we
okay.
know. That's right. We
Time
okay.
for everything.
And there's Gary. So how do you want to start?
Hey,
Well,
Hello, all. Thank you all for coming. Well, you heard what I said. If anybody wants to add or take away to that, please do. In support of it, either what you've experienced or maybe Gary and Rob, what you offer. Who would like to share something?
who would
I
like?
would.
Go ahead.
Gail.
I would. Well, I was in the field for 30 years. I was in groups. I ran a group. I had individual therapy, but I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just telling you my experience being in the field. I will tell you, I liked what Del Real Love said. She went through three therapists before she found a good one, and then that one ended up leaving. I just want to make it perfectly clear, and you do what you want. When seek out a therapist who knows something about the occult. Not all therapists are equal. I'll repeat myself, they're not. I was going to one for alcoholism, and it was a hard time finding a therapist who was knowledgeable in alcoholism. That being said, a good therapist, now this is me, a good therapist, they're not going to tell you what to do. What they do is they help you problem solve. So you two both can come up with a plan to help with whatever is going on within yourself. And as far as leaving the Watchtower, it took me 18 months to leave. And you go through a recovery process, and it takes time. And I just discovered recently, I still have some of this stinking thinking, I'll call it. And it stay, and they are triggers out there. And it's just amazing how that organization grabs into your mind and takes it over. And you have to slowly and be kind to yourself. Don't get upset with yourself. Don't blame yourself. And first and foremost, please do not feel guilty, because it's not your fault. You thought you were doing the right thing by joining this organization. I went there because I thought this were where God wanted me to go, until I found out that was the worst place to go. Well, anyway, that being said, I just wanted to share my experiences and what I know about, the therapeutic world. And today it's very difficult. Sometimes the wait can be really long, but there are some good support groups online. And here's another tip: do not divulge a lot of information till you trust your therapist and you have a good rapport with them, because they can turn around and use whatever you say against you. And you think that doesn't happen? Yeah, I went to court with my therapist. So, and it's in your record too, because I got mad at them for putting something in my record that didn't belong there. So I have my information on my chart online, and I didn't like what they said. So I called her up and I said, "You get that off right now." She complied, and she did. So to be another point, Don't,
That's a good
you're
point.
not a JW anymore, and you have it on your records, get it off your records, because the visiting nurse came to me today, and it was still listed that I was a Jehovah's Witness, so I told her to please take it off. I'm no longer one.
Good point.
Good points,
point,
Gary.
yeah.
All right,
Thank
well,
you,
that's all I
Gail.
got to say. Thank you for letting me have the floor. Thank you.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Well, don't go away.
Gail,
No, I'm not.
It's the old adage, let the buyer beware, and you better shop around.
There's some cuckoo therapists out there too, trust me.
Well, and look, the whole goal in anything is first, like you said, to develop you didn't say it directly, but to help in problem solving and to make decisions, good decisions, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And see, we're not looking for a savior. Maybe that's part of the cult mentality. We're not looking for a savior in a therapist. We're looking, to become our best ally, our personal best ally, through the help of others. And I appreciate your insight there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail. If I could just interrupt, Richard Wright is trying to get on.
Do you want me to get off?
No. We can have up to 12 or
12.
No,
Well, I don't know how many
Plenty
people you
of-
could have on.
there's
Plenty of room.
plenty of seats in the living room.
Oh, and here's an interesting thing. Maybe a little thing we can do. When you're through, invite someone else. Whoever. You don't have to say any names or anything, but just make the way open for someone else.
Yeah. Can I just tell Richard Wright to turn on? Richard Wright needs to connect his devices. He's never been on before, so
Okay. Yeah.
try to connect your devices. Okay.
Someone's.
That's Ash. Is that Ash?
Yep.
Hello,
Okay.
Ash.
Ash. Annie is on, and Ash and Rob and Gary.
Yeah, and if anyone has any questions about each other or want to offer anything.
I had a question.
Yeah.
So Gail, you mentioned because I just got a therapist not too long ago,
Yes.
and I just kind of was I'm like cooking, so I'm kind of listening to what you're saying and stuff. So you mentioned I mean, at the end of the day, I don't trust anybody, but I have a therapist to express things that bother me. So I mean, what is it that you would go to court for?
She was subpoenaed to go to court. So she went to court, but I'm not going to divulge because it was personal. But she actually stuck up for me in the courtroom. So she was a great therapist, but she left the profession. So, but no, we went to court, and she went to court on my behalf.
Wow.
Well, I'm so glad you kind of alert us to that, because maybe we don't think of that. You just don't think of things like that, and that's the big thing. There are things that we keep in mind that we didn't have in mind.
Richard got on. Okay, good job,
Let the buyer
Richard.
beware.
Got on, Richard. Okay, great.
Welcome.
Who else would like to say something?
What about different styles of therapy or help? Maybe Rob or
Gary
can mention something about that.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, I'm not a therapist, but we are talking about, recommending therapy when it's appropriate. My life coaching style is one of goals. It's very goal oriented. So while I'm not going to attempt to diagnose someone or treat someone for mental illness or emotional issues and stuff like that, if somebody has clear-cut goals, like even something as simple as I want to figure out how to deal with my mom because she doesn't, she keeps shunning me, something like that.
Yeah.
If it's not an emotional issue and like an emotionally disturbed problem or a mental illness kind of thing, I can help from a goals perspective, just saying, okay, so let's just tackle this one thing at a time. What do you think a first step might be? That type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I just will never ever try to be a therapist, even though I know a lot about it, because I'm not licensed and I'm not. That's not my position, But it's also really important to. There are times when you just really need a therapist. Like a life coach is not going to help you. And there are times when a life coach will be fine, and in fact, maybe could be more beneficial in certain ways,
Right.
But there are lots of times when it's both. When somebody's dealing with a mental issue with a therapist, but also has certain goals in mind that they'd like to talk to a life coach about. And of course, because I specialize in high control group exits, I can help in that respect. But the thing that you mentioned Bonnie Zeman before.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met Bonnie. I think I was at a seminar where she was tapped in, like through the phone or through video. But I haven't met her personally. But I have read one of the books that you didn't mention, but because her main book is the one you're talking about, how to leave the JWs or whatever. The one that I have found just indispensable in certain cases is called Cracking the Cult Code for Therapists. Cracking the Cult Code for Therapists. If you just go to Bonnie Zeman or you look up, do a Google search on Bonnie Zeman, go to her website, and you'll see it's listed there, Cracking the Cult for Therapists. What that book is about, it's for therapists. I mean, you can read it and you'll learn a lot from it, but it's not going to in itself heal you in any way. It's just what it is. The idea is that it's for your therapist to read so that they can understand what you're going through in ways that you probably wouldn't even be able to. You get so frustrated trying to express all this stuff. So Bonnie does it kind of for you. Just being aware of the unique needs that people that have escaped cults have, specifically Jehovah's Witnesses, because she was a Jehovah's Witness, but she's a psychiatrist, actually, a retired psychiatrist. And it doesn't recommend any kind of therapy to the therapist. It doesn't recommend any kind of technique. It's just information only. This is what you need to know about somebody that you're treating. So what I tell people, I highly recommend that book. I mean, I recommend it for anybody. But if you're thinking about going to a therapist, what I strongly recommend, it's still up to you, but I strongly recommend that you make sure your therapist gets a copy of that book. Hopefully they buy it themselves because that'll show that they're interested. But even if not, get them a copy of that book and tell them, I'll see you after you've read the book. And be firm about it. I personally, this is just my personal opinion, I wouldn't waste 1 second talking to a therapist who has not read that book if I've asked them to. I'm not saying they should all have read it already because they don't know it exists, But once I've said that this is the deal, I really don't think you can help me until you've read this book, unless you're already an expert in cults, like Gail was talking about.
Wow.
And if they don't, and I've seen it happen a bunch of times where they just never do. It hurts their ego. Yeah. They say, "Look, I've been through a lot of training. I don't need that." Well, okay, great, but you're not for me. You don't have to insult them. Just say, "I got to move on. I have to find somebody that understands." And I'm not because we're not talking about you have to learn new things about therapy or about therapeutic techniques.
Just about the people.
I'm just saying you have to understand my position better. Yeah. And you can't, and I like to use the word holistic. That's like a magic word in the medical field. If you tell somebody that you appreciate a holistic approach, like I'm not insisting on it, telling you how to operate, but I appreciate a holistic approach. That basically means you're treating the whole person. So even if you're treating a toothache, you're treating the whole person. It's not just the immediate thing. And if you put it that way, you don't have to insult them. You're just basically saying that. Yeah, I think that I need somebody that really understands the whole me, the whole, like everything, about my experience that is probably very different from other people that you've successfully treated, and then take it from there. And I mean, I've seen cases where it works because the therapist does read it, and it still doesn't make them the great therapist because, like you've already been saying, there are therapists that just really are not that good. And you need to say, I could tell you later if you like, but I've had some bad experiences going from therapist to therapist to therapist for me, myself, back when I was at JW and I needed therapy.
Yeah. There you go.
Real bad experiences with people that just, oh my God. I mean, I don't know how they can help anybody because they're just terrible. but then you find the one that's good. So I had a guy that was really good for years, and then in the end he betrayed me, actually, you know. But then more recently, I went to a therapist when I lived in Montana, who she was great. I mean, she helped me get through something that was like a childhood memory that I could never really make sense out of my entire life. It was always came back to me. And she, in 2 sessions, we got it figured out. So yeah, you're going to find really bad therapists and you're going to find really good ones. But even if you find a good one, the key thing is, have you read the book yet? No? Okay,
That's
well,
a great point.
I'll be back when after you read the book.
See, we're at that point, Gary, and I appreciate you supporting that. We're at the point where they don't have enough information.
Yeah.
And we're in a position to make sure they get it. And if they don't get it, they're not for us, like you said.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not for us. And again, too, maybe you're the person individually that can give them, and they'll listen. If they'll listen to you for that, that's a test in itself. That in itself is a test.
Yeah, if they listen to you, you mean the therapist listens to you, you mean?
Yeah. Because in other words,
definitely.
if their ego isn't, in the way, like you said, if they're open, it's a rapport. It's a rapport.
Yeah, and again, we're not telling them, we're not bringing their skills into question. We're not doubting all their vast experience in the past. We're just saying that this is just one thing that I hope you, and it's not a long book. I would emphasize that too. It's really pretty thin. I mean, I probably read it in 2 hours.
How about to make to soften it up a bit and just give them an assignment of 1 chapter, just to see.
You could do that. Yeah.
The whole book. No,
well, that's true too. That's why if you read the book yourself, you might find yourself in the book. It's not going to talk about you, obviously, but you might say, "Oh, chapter 7. That's my whole thing. Is I can't, I have a problem making friends, and that's my whole, whatever." And then you could say, "Could you at least please read this chapter?" And I don't know, maybe that'll be a way of getting your therapist to realize that. I think this is really actually a good idea, Joe. Because if you do give them that little, so-called assignment, and they read, I don't know, whatever it is, 5 or 20 pages, it's not going to take a lot. They can do that on a coffee break, and hopefully they'll see the value and say, "Oh, yeah, okay, well maybe I'll read this whole book. Give me a copy of it."
Fabulous.
So again, the name of the book, I'm sorry, the name of the book is Cracking the Cult Code for Therapists by Bonnie Zeman. I just looked it up on Amazon, and the paperback is $15.95. Maybe you can find a used copy, but that's not a lot of money. It's a really good investment, like you said.
Yeah.
If you're going to a therapist or looking for a therapist, they can read that book. They should read that book. Even a chapter.
Great tactics. See, this is getting to where it's more in our control, and now we know what to do and how to start to navigate it. Thank you, Gary. Rob, can you share something about what maybe an individual approach, what an individual, person, one of the X's needs to kind of formulate themselves, in other words, in their own personal views?
Yeah, can you hear me and see me okay? My internet connection seems to be rather choppy.
Sound good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, so I'll have to, in order to be able to do that, I want to give you some backstory about me. I was born and raised in Watchtower, and whereas my family were not really all that active, I'm the one who took to it. I'm the one who was really involved and believed everything that I was told. I honestly believed it was the truth. I felt this sense of being something special, being able to go out there and help people in a way that made me feel important, that made me feel like I was doing the most valuable work in the world. And then once I realized that it was all fake, it shattered my sense of reality. It wasn't just, oh, this is a fake religion, I move on. I mean, to me, my entire concept of the way that things were had now been broken down to the core. I wasn't living in rubble. I was living in an obliterated atomic bomb desolation of a life. It left me with the hole of how can I possibly what can I possibly look to? How can I possibly believe anything or anyone and everything I've ever been taught if this is not the truth? And I've been lied to my whole life, and I could never personally grasp that. Like, it took all this time for me, about 40 years old, before I finally realized, oh my goodness, I'm in a cult, you know? And I felt stupid. I felt humiliated. Like, am I not smarter than this? But I had no support team. The first time I was ever involved with therapy was actually because I was dealing with a child abuse case. And unfortunately, the judge during the custody proceedings with my kids, I was trying to file for emergency custody to keep them away from somebody. And the judge rejected me every time. And so I was left with the last time that I put in my order for the judge to be able to look at getting an emergency custody order so that I could get custody and protect my kids. The problem is that the judge did not like this, and she wrote on the paper, if you ever try this again, you're going to be in contempt of court. And so when I finally did get my day in court, it was just a preliminary thing. We were trying to figure out the whole custody scenario. When I finally got that, she saw how dysfunctional the entire family was, and court ordered therapy for all of us. And so this was my first experience with therapy during a situation. Well, now at that point, I was still indoctrinated. This is in 2016, and I was still believing at that time. So this is my first experience with what therapy was like. And then, of course, there was a whole Child Protective Services investigation. And, you know, what I found is that when it comes down to the kind of abuse that we have been to, the court systems don't understand. Child Protective Services don't understand. As a matter of fact, after the interview, Child Protective Services looked at my situation. They said that I was partly at fault for what happened to the abuse of my children because I didn't stop it, but I couldn't stop it because the elders told me not to report it to the police. Right. Their normal line. They told me directly, don't go to the CPS, don't go to the police. This will harm Jehovah's name, and we can't do that. So I didn't, and they didn't understand that. And so my first experience with the court and the judicial system was forcing me into the therapy situation. And of course, this is all against my will. This was not something that I reached out for. Whereas I know that we're talking about a situation with most people, they're seeking therapy after getting out of Watchtower. I was forced into it. And let me tell you, trying to find a therapist who, first of all, has the patience to be able to understand because especially when you've had a therapist that's been in the business longer, they get really numb, I think, to people's problems, and they become more like just a listening ear and solution makers rather than an empathetic ear. And what I needed was somebody to help me to stop and process all of this. But to me, at the situation, I wasn't ready because I wasn't woken up yet to be able to process all the trauma and all the abuse and all of the years of turmoil that I had to experience as a witness. I wasn't even about that. I wasn't reaching out for this. I wasn't ready for this. And here now I was being forced into a situation
Rob,
where I had to.
If we can tie in what you said originally, it sounded like your worldview wasn't capable or up to understanding and then going forward. What did you have to do about your personal worldview in order to go forward?
But yeah, and that's what I was getting to, was that, you know, I looked toward therapy, and unfortunately I couldn't find it. I was able to find some therapists in order to help me process. And I think finding a therapist, if you're in a position where, you know, there's different types of therapy, and sometimes they want to do therapy where they're trying to do like cognitive behavioral therapy, or something like that, where they have goals in mind. But unfortunately, because of the mess that Watchtower left in my mind, I needed time to unravel, like Christmas lights, all of the things in my head that I've been through, and process all of this. I didn't really need therapy as much as I need a support group. And so I turned my therapist into my support group. And that seemed to have worked so much better for me than direct therapy. And even to this day, because I still continue therapy down to this day, for me, what works best is when I'm able to deprogram and deprocess with a third party to help. And it has been a tremendous help for me personally to be that way. And it's an option that a lot of therapists don't think of because they have their mind set on doing therapy in a cookie cutter fashion. So for me, one of the things that when I started to deprocess and deprogram and really realized that I was in a cult, it was all during the therapy sessions and helping me to be able to unwind all of this mess. And then that sent me into an existential crisis. It literally, the floor came out from underneath me. And it put me in a situation where I didn't even know what to do anymore. There was no purpose to life, and therapy wasn't doing any good for me in order to be able to help. It was doing good for me to be able to unwind the indoctrination that I'd had. And that became the key for me, was trying to find safety and understanding the difference between personal truths and what's reality. And to me, finding a therapist specifically to be able to do that, I have never had it to this day. I had to do the work all on my own. And one of the things that I did early on was I became a life coach because I couldn't find the help that I needed in the therapy world. I brought the help to me. I was proactive in the situation, and I wanted to figure out how to take care of myself and also how I can be of benefit to other people who are going through the exact same thing, because an existential crisis is nothing that you would ever want to go through. It was a living nightmare. It was hardly even living to go through that. And of course,
so Bob,
having...
if I can interrupt again, please.
Sure.
How a coach helps someone who's training and working hard at something. In what way can you help someone who's working? What would they have to be working at themselves so you could coach them? What would you coach them in and with?
That's a great question, because I don't think they need to be coached. I think the issue that a lot of us who leave Watchtower have is not how to think like the world, or how to think in the world, or how to function in the world. It's how to untangle your mind from indoctrination so you can be free from the enslavement of mind, rather than doing actual therapeutic steps in order to be able to recover. Because to me, when I look at a lot of therapy and a lot of coaching, what I see is I see people like first responders after a hurricane. They're out there giving out blankets and water. They're helping people initially through the process of the trauma that they've been through. But I think what I'm trying to do and I'm trying to accomplish is the long term, let's rebuild. So as the therapy or life coach people would be great for the initial help after leaving Watchtower, I would be there more to help the people to be able to think for themselves, to become fully self-aware, to completely unravel indoctrination.
Good.
Yeah, that's helpful.
So how would a person, this is good for anyone. How do I think for myself?
That's a good question. Because a lot of people don't ask that. And this is a key thing that I found in my research, and it had nothing to do with being a life coach. Again, this is about me unraveling my indoctrination, is that self-awareness is the ability for us to be able to understand how we think and process the world. And when I was a witness, I believed that I was self-aware. And after reading books and doing research on what self-awareness really means, I realized I was not self-aware at all. And as a matter of fact, according to modern research by Tasha Eurich, 85 to 90% of the human species is not self-aware. And again, these are verifiable information. You can do the research and read her book yourself. But what we have is we have not just, we wake up from indoctrination from a doomsday cult. But a lot of times we don't untangle the indoctrination from other societal and governmental matters that continue to keep us trapped in a state of trauma or trapped in a state of depression and anxiety and keep us paralyzed from moving, because we are still being abused and we are still being mistreated by the cult of society and government. These things are controlling us in a way where they try to keep us in a little bubble, and the organization is just the exact same way.
How do we make this practical, Rob? In other words,
The
the
easiest
person
way.
says, so what can I do? They come out of the watchtower, say, well, what can I do? Should I study this? Should I study? What? See, what about are there practical things? Practical.
Right, and that's going to
You're
be
talking about a philosophy and about a concept. Now we need
right.
practice. What are some
The
practices?
the practical thing that we need to do and learn how to do is to be able to learn to think, to become self-aware. Once we're able to figure this out on our own, then we don't need the crutches of the water bottles and the bedding and the temporary housing that we would need when we first come out.
Well, what we've seen, see, we were raised, and I appreciate your insight. I'm sorry for what you had to go through with your family. I can't imagine that. Well, we were not born in the organization. We were raised in this world, not the world, this world, the world we're all in. And so we were taught through grade school, taught through high school, and we went through eras of things where the theme was do your own thing. It's not my bag, that's your bag. Dance to the tune of your own drummer or walk, whatever. In other words, we were indoctrinated basically to do those things. And there were so many avenues where we could do that. So a person comes out of the watchtower, they need practicals. Well, what do I do? I mean, okay, I want to think for myself. Well, how do I? What do I do? Are there exercises where they can? Are there things that they can get into? For example, there's so many things that a witness cannot do. Mm-hmm. They can't join this. Can't do this thing. This thing is too much like this. They don't do that. They can't. Now, if they did involve themselves in those things, would that help them? Could that help them develop their own sense of something? See, there's practical things. And this is where, honestly, I feel that a coach is helpful in guiding, and at least helping them just to engage in those practices. Practical things. Because we live practically. We have to.
Yeah. If anyone else, thank you so much, Rob, don't go away.
And if anybody has questions for Rob or Gary.
And Annie, we haven't heard from Annie. We haven't heard from Ash. So everybody hang in there. We're going to all get a turn to, mention, and maybe you got something you'd like to say to Rob or Gail or Gary or any of you.
I would like to point out something on what Joe just mentioned, like how do we think for ourselves? Like, I guess I start with like thinking how I feel, starting with that, and going from there is thinking for yourself, like for example, like, there's a lot of people that may judge you for the way you look and stuff. And if you were to think to yourself, okay, well, how does that make me feel? Well, I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal, or such and such, I have free will, I mean, it's your, I mean, when you're brainwashed, like I was, I didn't realize my free will. I didn't realize, I can think about how I feel, because I thought about how Jehovah felt. Mm-hmm. I was always thinking about how Jehovah feels first before how I feel first.
Yeah. Ash, a basic question. Do you have the right to feel your own feelings?
What was that? I didn't hear it.
Do you have the right to feel your own feelings?
That's a good question. When I was in the religion, I felt like the most important person was Jehovah, to think
Right.
about his feelings
Yeah.
before
Right,
mine.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but now I
Yeah.
don't think that way anymore. Yes, I consider other people, but when it comes down to trivial things or like, I mean, we're talking about therapy here now, right? I mean, I'm just
Well,
answering what you were saying, Joe.
yeah,
But
no,
yeah.
I guess we're talking about your view of life. In other words, are you a person that has to pick up outside feelings and you must take them on, or rather, do you have the right to come up to generate and rely on your own feelings?
Well, again, that's based on where we're living. Like, I have to consider like how I drive, right? Like, I mean,
Uh-huh.
obviously there's many people out there that has sped in life and, you know, gotten a ticket.
Yeah.
But like, and even our cars, why is it that our cars have 120 miles on it when there's nowhere in this world where we can go 120
Boy.
miles?
Boy,
Good
you know, that's
question.
you know, from when I was a kid, I always wondered about that. It's interesting. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my grandfather's Cadillac, he has a Cadillac that goes beyond the speed
Yeah.
limit, but he
Yeah.
can never go that speed limit
Yeah. Yeah.
unless the cops weren't there. I mean,
Well,
you
yeah.
can do it, but
And this breaks into like what Rob talks about is the meaning of our life. You know, that existential. In other words, what am I all about? What's the meaning for my life? Am I supposed to be a slave, taking on everything that I'm given, and or can I have the right to?
My hand's up.
Go ahead. You got the right to.
One of our daughters was critical of me because she said, "Mom, you don't. Who are you? You know." She wasn't even realizing what she was saying. Basically, because I was, the Watchtower. I was auxiliary pioneer. I was uh, a wife, a mother. But she said, "But who are you?" And it used to bother her so much. And it wasn't until I left the organization I started reading books. I had more time. So I was reading all these books. Some were ExJWs, some were just books that were very interesting. So I found that reading really helped me to kind of figure out who I was. Just a point.
Oh, no, it's an excellent point. Would you have read those books while you were in the organization?
No, I wouldn't have had time, and
Why not?
they did not.
Ah.
They did well. If it's not a Watchtower or an Awake
Yeah.
or one of the books that they hand out at the convention, no, you should not read worldly books. As a matter of fact, I had a sister tell me because I was starting to read, and she goes, "Oh no, that's worldly. I wouldn't read that." I go, "Oh goodness."
Yeah, yeah, and now think about the dichotomy here. When you were a witness, you had your choice of liking any different flavor of ice cream. You know, everyone, they liked a different flavor. There was no recommended flavor. There was no prohibition against different flavors. There wasn't any such thing, you know. But now when it comes down to entertainment, when it came down to personal views, when it came down to politics or many other things, all of a sudden now, oh, well, we don't have the right to think those different things. What about now? What about now?
Can we hear from Annie and then Linda,
Yeah.
please? And then Ruby.
Well, I don't have too much to offer tonight. I think I'm probably mostly going to listen. I'm not in therapy. I went to therapy for a very short time. I did find exactly what everyone's talking about, though, that I ended up having to try to explain to the therapist where I'd been and what I'd gone through. But in view of the fact that I couldn't afford to keep going, I wasn't able to
Yeah,
continue. But
unfortunately, you're paying for
she was
that.
very nice, and she said she'd had other witnesses too. But of course, everyone's experience is very individual. but of course the basic things that witnesses go through are pretty much the same, but we do experience things differently. But
Well, Annie, depending on your type of insurance you have,
Yeah.
Our insurance covered it. So you might check around to see if you want to. Maybe you don't need to go, but I'm just saying for anyone in the audience, just check around and see who takes your insurance, because there are a lot of therapists now. And when I think Craig's going to be coming on. He is a therapist, and he takes different. I think he might take Medicaid, and he does online therapy. But just a point.
Yeah.
But yeah, good point, Annie. Thank you.
yeah, I did. I had a copay. That was the problem. I had a $30 copay, which at that time was part of the budget.
Yeah, it gets expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. What does it cost?
Yeah. Apasta Babe, Linda.
Hello. Hi.
Linda.
Good to see you all.
Welcome.
Hi. So I left over 40 years ago, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm still healing, and I think I will be until the day I die. Okay. And I wanted to mention that the organization has a book, especially for when Jehovah's Witness couples have a divorce, and how the remaining JW will get custody of the children. Sometimes, they both remain Jehovah's Witnesses, but that's not usually the case. So it's very important to get a hold of this book, because they teach the children and the JW parent to act in a manner that is not a true reflection of the organization, for them to get custody of the children. Okay. And people that, like, let's say they've discovered it wasn't the truth and they've left. Okay. We have no, we have no social structure. Just like, Rick had said, it literally feels like the floor dropped from beneath you. I mean, Steve Hassan spoke of the day he realized he was in a cult, he bawled his eyes out for 3 hours straight. This is a normal reaction to, holy crap, I'm in a cult. It's just, you don't see it coming, and you're glad you're waking up, yet it's truly mourn worthy, Please know about that book. And also I wanted to recommend going once a year, ICSA, ICSA has a yearly 3-day workshop for people that want to be educated on cults. I go every year, and I'm broke as broke. Okay. They do have people that have left money to sponsor people such as myself that, left the org and didn't plan for the future. I'm sitting here on disability and Social Security, and I have been granted a scholarship each year. I'm not saying here's the way to get by with going free. I mean, if you have the money, please, it's a very good investment. I am a member. I do donate yearly to this. I mean, even Gary Alt has been a speaker at the ICSA conferences, and they're very, very helpful. And you can go online. Ever since the pandemic, they went online. Okay, so you get to go online for 3 days and get access to these different speakers who share their different experiences of their education on cults, and many of them have been members of a cult, much like our Gary Alt here, so they can draw from their own experiences and then take the education that they have and be of service to us. And I'm really all about psychology when I do my show on Saturday nights, and then I'm about for us to just fellowship, for us to hang out, and to be able to talk to people that have experienced what we've experienced. I consider it very much like prisoners of war getting together and meeting up again. Okay. It's hard to tell a therapist that you were once in a totalitarian regime and for them to actually believe you. Okay. In this, the way America is and the way the court system is, I mean, just recently in Norway, because we could sign a paper to excommunicate ourselves, that means we can get up and leave and we're not held there by handcuffs. Okay. But what they don't know is what happens if we are kicked out, or what happens if we do choose to leave. There's healing and healing and healing. And you shed these different things as you go along in life, usually learning the hard way because we're socially stunted. We do all these socially unacceptable things, which I did all the time. Didn't know why people were yelling at me, right? But today I can laugh at myself about it because, I mean, I just didn't know what I didn't know. So getting out and going again to be in other people's lives and asking questions, learning how to be worldly, which is actually a compliment. If you ever look up the word worldly, it means that you're savvy. It means you're educated. You know? So it's,
Yeah.
See, you're talking practical things, but
I do have time to where we talk about what's going on with our lives and we get to empathize with each other. You know, I haven't.
Oh, can you just tell us the name of your program, please?
Okay. My program is on Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so California time, on my channel, which is called Apostrophe Linda James. So when you show up there on Saturday nights, go under the live, like we are here, we went under live. And I usually have a what is it called? A thumbnail that says, let's talk. It just says, let's talk.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you for good ideas, good
And
practical ideas.
And if we can welcome Richard.
Yes,
Hi, Richard.
welcome. You got on.
Welcome.
First time for Richard.
He
might be having trouble with his internet.
We'll keep trying, Richard.
And Ruby's been waiting.
So did Ruby? Yeah.
Hey,
Ruby.
I just had a quick question and a statement for the life coaches on the panel. Quick question. Are you guys on our Discord server, the ExJWFriends?
I'm not sure. You talking about a Facebook group or?
It's on Discord where all of us kind of just hang out and talk with one another. We have virtual events on there.
Oh, I checked that out a couple of years ago, and I'm going to be totally honest, I forgot about it because it never did. I never figured out how to use it, I guess. But I checked it out, but that doesn't mean anything because I'm not using it. So.
Okay. And how about is Rob a life coach as well? I think he said he was.
Yes, I am. I haven't been on the Discord yet though.
Okay. I would highly recommend for you guys to join us because I am interested in your field. Because the second question was, do you know who El Reno is? She's another ExJW life coach that we've been.
I know Ellen. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. So we kind of partner up together on Discord to host a life coach on our server, and she does like a once a month type of event. So since you guys are in the same field, I was thinking if you want to join the server, I would love to have you guys have your own little webinar on there. And yeah.
If you could publish how we get on it, because I don't remember really. I have to tell you that I was very tech savvy for half of my adult life career, but in the modern age, I'm done with it. I'm the most tech stupid person you're ever going to want to meet.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, just a point. Gary worked at Bethel in the tech department, right?
Yeah.
Gary? Yeah.
Gary, I want to tie in with that point. You say you're tech savvy, so you kind of avoid, and many people do. And here's the reality. Right now, we're enjoying the benefit of technology with this interaction with people hundreds, thousands of miles away from each other. Well, the reality, in an instant, it could be gone. Any connections that we have, basically, we lost. So our encouragement is to develop local supports for yourself. Very, very local. In other words, your neighbors, your friends, close people right around you. because we may not be able to enjoy this benefit at some point if the internet goes down for whatever reason. So it's something to think about. As nice and as helpful as this is, let's not fall into the trap of relying strictly on this. Your friends, your neighbors, your next door neighbor, the person you see all the time somewhere that you're comfortable around. Develop them as part of your interactive support. Support them, they support you. This is what it means to be, well, I guess, worldly. This is worldly, to develop that, because frankly, love is all around you. It really is. Love literally is all around you, and you're the other part of that equation of love. And it's literally, physically right around you.
We got Richard. It sounds like your internet might be stable now. Do you have your mic on?
I hope you can hear me. Can you
Yes,
hear me?
we
Yes.
can. Perfect.
Perfect.
Yes. Good to see you too, Richard.
Good
We've
to
always
see you
enjoyed
all.
nice conversations before on the phone. Nice to see you.
Any
Yes.
thoughts on therapy or coaching, or any thoughts on that?
I'm all for it. I mean, I've been to therapy, and it's really helped me quite a bit going through the transition of trying to get out of the JW. I call it a cult. I still have a long way to go. I'm nowhere near where I need to be in life, but therapy has helped me along the way. And I would like coaching. I would love a life coach. I've always wanted one. They can be expensive though.
Well, we can connect you with Gary and Rob, and see
I would
how
love
it
it.
feels.
I would love it.
I'm sorry, I was about to interrupt you, so never mind.
No, I would love it. I said.
What I was just going to say is that in terms of getting it done, which obviously there is a financial commitment. I mentioned before that there's pluses and minuses to therapy, and I'm never going to say, don't go to a therapist. I mean, if you need a therapist, go to a therapist, please. But one of the advantages of therapy is what you were talking about before with the insurance sometimes covers it. It's never going to cover life coaching, so it's all out of pocket. But one of the big differences between life coaching and therapy is life coaching, if it's done properly, has a finite, it has a limit. Once you reach a certain goal, you're done. If you want to re-up, that's fine. But once you reach a certain goal, and I can guarantee you that whatever goal it is, I will guarantee you, I promise you, that whatever goal, it could be your goal is just how to talk to your mom, something. That when you're done with whatever the period we said, like if it was 2 or 3 or 4 sessions, you are going to find out that you had the mental ability all along to figure this stuff out. And that's what Rob was talking about before. You have to learn to think for yourself. Well, how? You can't just tell somebody think for yourself. When you're done getting into a goal that you thought you couldn't reach, and I didn't really tell you how to reach it. I didn't really tell you what to do. I just listened to you talk and ask questions and confirmed what you said. And by the time we got done, you're like, "Oh yeah, now I see it really clearly." And I didn't tell you what to think. I didn't tell you what to do.
Gary,
and that's the big difference, is because that's going to teach you how to think. And the next time you got a problem that you're trying to face, you might want to reach out to a life coach again, but you might not have to, because you might say like, wow, you know what? I really applied myself and did a lot of work for like a month, and then I was done, and I can do this now. So my point is that life coaching, even though it could be expensive per session, it's finite. You're not going to be like a therapist can go. I went to this therapist for like 15 years off and on, like 15 years. Actually, about 15, almost 20 years. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Compare that to whatever a life coach costs for a month. It's,
Gary,
again, if you need a therapist, go to a therapist. But
if I could, Gary, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I can jump in, and you just made me just realize that a life coach or a coach could basically give relatively instantaneous insight as to how to proceed, as opposed to long-term developmental problems that need ongoing work. In other words, coach tells you how to do this instead of that. Do this, like this, like that, and this. Practical stuff. That's where I truly see the benefit of coaching. I really do. Because in so many cases, it's practical techniques. It's literal techniques. We're human. The things that we do are so manual, either with our hands, either with our language, with our communication. They're practical. There's techniques. There's ways. And, you know, in most cases, we might say, well, I never knew that. If I knew that, I would have done it. Now that I know it, I can do it. And it's as immediate as hearing it and learning it from someone. And to me, that's the value in coaching. It really is.
Yeah, I tell you, sometimes, I mean, I always say that when it's with that, because I do a lot of different kinds of coaching. High control group escapees is just one of that's really my specialty. But I do, you know, career coaching and life transition coaching and general coaching. And what I've seen with the ExJWs, because it's probably almost all pretty close to all of my high control group people are ExJWs, is that it's usually, at least the way I do it, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but the way I do it, it's like the first session is almost always just a get to know you kind of thing, because people just got to spew their whole life story, and you don't want to cut them off, you know. And it doesn't really necessarily go anywhere the first time. I mean, I could change it a little bit, but by the second session, I tell you, even if I said, you know, we should probably do 4 sessions, they're like, oh, okay, I'm done, because they know how to, you know. Like I have one client that we're kind of friends now, and he calls me once in a while, and I always tell him, like, please do not send me any more money. Please do not do that. All we're doing is talking as friends. But every time I talk to him, he's like, wow, that was really a powerful point. But then he's good for like a month, 2 months, 3 months of just like one conversation, because he learned how to look at it a different way. And that applies to everything that's going to come up in the future, you know?
So in other words, Gary, in other words, you work yourself out of a job.
Well, I do, I do.
With that person.
You know, that's always, it's interesting. I mean, when I was in school for counseling, they said basically you want to work yourself out of a job. In other words, you're not here to make a person dependent on you. They're there to help them arrive at the solution that's going to satisfy themselves. And then they're going to be left with that, and they're going to go forward. It's a beautiful thing that we can do, because as humans, we suffer from lack of knowledge, but yet we render assistance with others with knowledge and with concern. It's knowledge and it's concern, it's support, it's commendation, it's interaction. And see, we didn't have that in the right way in the Watchtower. We did not have that. It was forbidden. We were tied up with all the wrong interaction, with all the wrong activity. They stole our time. They stole your time. Now you have it in your hands. You use your time the way you want to. See, that's part of quote unquote thinking for yourself. You don't ask, well, what would so-and-so think? No, you know, what do you think? What do you think? And maybe your significant other, whoever that is, what do they think? And you act in consort with each other.
And if I can jump in, it's sort of not logical to say, I'm going to teach you how to think for yourself and then tell them what to think.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's kind of like what the heck was that? So that's why I do not tell people what to think. I don't solve their problems for them. I help them to open up channels in their brain they didn't knew they had.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing it with medicine or anything. It's just from people talking, really.
Yeah.
And
So,
you know, and then I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, just to finish the thought, it was just that I go with the 80-20 rule, which is basically I should talk no more than 20% of the time, and they should talk no less than 80% of the time. So that means I'm not really spending any time saying, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? They're coming up with the solutions, and I'm saying that sounds really like a great idea. How would you do that now? What steps would you need to take? What tasks would you need to perform in order to get to that? And again, then they talk for another 5 minutes. So it opens up new pathways in your brain, and I'm not sure what the science is of it. I really don't know, but it's worked millions of times where all of a sudden somebody's like thinking like they've never thought clearly before.
Beautiful.
What I was going to say, Gary, is that you had mentioned to us when you were a JW, you were an elder, and you were basically doing life coaching as an elder. You were one of the exceptional elders because you actually listened to people. And then by listening to them and asking them questions, they said, oh, thank you. Thank you for helping me out so much. You answered my question by just listening to them.
Yeah, and then I would say, like, I didn't actually answer your question. You answered your question. I refuse to take credit for something I didn't really do. Yeah, when I was an elder, I mean, basically, I'm doing it in the context of the organization. The whole elder arrangement is flawed.
Yeah.
So if you're an elder, even if you're a super great elder, there's something you're doing that's not really helpful. Because basically, when if I went to visit somebody in the hospital, because I just feel like people that are in the hospital are in a compromised state and they could become depressed, lonely or whatever. Well, the idea of it is that we love you as a brother. We want to keep you as a brother. Mm-hmm. So it's still the end goal is still how do you stay within the organization? That's where the real love is. So yeah, it's nice of you to say that I did a good job as an elder, but the very arrangement is flawed, No, but it did teach me a lot about how to really deal with people and let them talk. And I mean, I'll tell you one of my favorite questions, and I actually heard this from somebody that's now a circuit overseer, but one of my favorite questions to ask people is so simple. You just say, what do you want to have happen here? And the time I heard him say that, it was we were talking with a married couple who we didn't even realize how bad their marriage had gotten to be. And he just said, what do you want to have happen? And it's not about this is what the elders think you should do. It's about what do you want to have happen? That could be anything. Well, I want a divorce. Well, no, I want to solve it. It's like, okay, so whatever. So I tried using that. I used it with a young girl who was being beaten, who her husband, she left home because of physical abuse by her husband. And she's wondering, what should I do next? I said, well, what do you want to do? Right. Oh, I want to go back to my husband. Well, okay. All right. That's okay. How's that going to work? How do you see that working? And before you know it, she's like, yeah, he's just going to hit me again, isn't he? Like, well, probably, but it's up to you. It's like, I'm not telling you what to do. And then in the end, she's like, yeah, no, I really shouldn't go back. Okay, well, so how's that going to work? How are you going to get a job? Like, what are we going to do?
Right.
So it's just one of the best questions in the world is like, how do you want this to work?
Looks like Gail wants to say something.
Gary, do you consult by any chance?
What do you mean, like with therapists?
Yeah, do you do consultant work with coaching work? Because I liked what you had to say. It was actually pretty good, and I agreed with you. But I was just asking if you ever were a consultant at all.
Well, what do you mean? You mean consult in what sense? I mean,
as being a coach, because you have some really good advice.
Well, I am a coach. So what do you mean, coach in a different context?
A consultant with groups. Say there was a business
okay.
And they wanted you to come out and speak to the employees. I mean, something like that.
Oh, I can. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of that. I thought you meant like working with a therapist or something like that.
No. Going out, using your skills, talking to groups. Because the company I used to work with, we had someone to come out and talk to us.
Yeah, I would. I haven't really sought out that kind of business, so I wouldn't know
just asking
where to start. But I mean, I work with other coaches that specialize in that, and they're talking to like employees of a company. It's not Jehovah's Witnesses; they're just people, I could do it.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. No, I could do it because, like I said, I do career coaching and life transition coaching, and that's generally not for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. It's for anybody, So yeah.
Are your services online at all? Or are you just doing in person?
I have a website. It's if you look at it says Open Path Life Coach on my thing here.
Okay.
Just add a .com at the end. That's me.
All right.
And my email address is Gary@openpathlifecoach.com.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. I've been talking a lot. I should probably let somebody else talk.
Well, Gary, you made me think of an illustration about point of view and engaging with a person and helping basically open up their point of view. Because usually a person's point of view, person who was in the watchtower, the point of view is absolutely narrow, very, very narrow point of view. And the difference in driving, this is different driving points of view. Just as an example, driving on the thruway, an enclosed 4-lane or 6-lane, whatever, as opposed to driving on a 2-lane country road. There's different points of view you need to practice. And on the thruway, it's a narrow point of view. You're looking straight ahead. Don't be distracted to the sides. No, don't read all those signs. You're watching the road ahead of you, narrow it. But yet on driving in the country road, man, you better have a wide point of view, or behind you, out to the side of you, on left and right, ahead, and just continuing to scan and keeping it open. And I've always found that was, helpful if a person could, open their point of view up on a matter. And anything that helps a person open their point of view is going to help them make decisions.
Hi, Craig.
There's a saying that says, I don't recall who said it. I think it was a relatively famous person. He said that if you lay out all the information on a subject in front of you, the decision will fairly jump out at you. And it's the question of basically accessing information, helping the person with information and thinking.
Yeah.
People make decisions, like you said. People make decisions, and it's fun to watch them do that.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, what happens is I can do this myself in my own personal life, is that all of us have any number of problems that can come in on us on any particular day. And some days it's ridiculous. You're like, holy crap, I just want to go back to bed,
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, you have to have a system for taking some of that off the table and ignoring it and focusing on what's really, really important, and just one other thing I wanted to say is that I don't think this is necessarily a great point unto itself, but it has to do with what we were talking about a minute ago. I think it's important to realize, and it kind of taps into something that Rob said before about thinking when he got out, like, was I stupid? Like, how did I let that happen? You're not alone. I mean, one of the things we have to realize as Jehovah's Witnesses that, our problems are to some extent unique, but a lot of them are shared with pretty much the whole world. So, for example, the inability to think critically and the inability to think for yourself, a lot of people have that problem. I wouldn't be surprised if it's half the country. Just the way you see people comment on current events and stuff, they're just not thinking for themselves, and they're going down logical fallacy dead ends all the time. So
the stat for 90% of all humanity. 85 to 90%. Not 50, Gary. 85 to 90% are not
you
self.
said that before. No, I don't doubt it. It's absolutely amazing to me when I see people, the way they reason and the conclusions that they draw. I don't even care what the facts are. Obviously, facts are always important, but it's just the logical fallacy there is so abundant in the national dialogue any given day of the week that it's like, if you just think about how illogical this whole proposition is and your conclusion, it's like, who cares even what the facts are? Because you can come to the right or the wrong conclusion, whether your facts are right or wrong. It's better if they're right, obviously. But it's just, oh my God, it is sort of a disease, I think, almost, So the point I'm making is that you're not alone. It's not like, I was so stupid to believe that religion. How could I have fallen for that? it happened. You're done.
You know,
Like-
if I can jump in on that one, what we're up against is all around us, and it's coming at us from all directions, especially the government. And if anyone doesn't know what the word government literally means, government, the word literally, it literally means mind control. And that's what the government literally works at. Controlling our minds, not theirs, controlling our minds. So if you want to think of cults, you might think of the government as the cult that we're all in. And of course, our culture is a cult as well. We're immersed in cults. We have our culture that literally has that effect on us, and of course the government. And now here we are immersed even more deeply in the Watchtower cult. Well, okay, how much of a cult do I want to be immersed in? I'm already in two cults, my culture and the government in a way. What rights do I have as an individual, as a human being? Like I asked Fallen Ashes, well, do you have the rights to your own thoughts and your own feelings? And Frank, I believe I do have the rights to my own feelings. We, as a human being, we have the right to our feelings. And we have to be very careful not to give them up. See, people, and we did, and I'll speak for myself, I gave them up when I entered that Watchtower. I unwillingly, I must admit, gave them my thoughts up and my feelings and my desires. I gave them up. Oh, I look back and said I never should have. I never should have. And so now the goal partly becomes taking those rights back, reestablishing those rights, practicing those rights. And that's where each one can help each other with that.
If I could interrupt, I was just on the phone with Craig. He had to get all his kids to bed. He's got a lot of kids. Craig is up there.
He does.
Craig's a therapist. So if you can hear me, Craig, you go to the live chat, and at the top of the live chat, there's a banner, and it says, what does it say? Can we put that? Okay, there it is. Fixing My Faith. It's in black with yellow, Fixing My Faith, and then in blue, HTTPS StreamYard. So tap on that, and then that will get you backstage. Make sure you have your microphone on and your video, and then they will see you and bring you on. So Craig, if you can hear me, please do that. And also, Malia is coming on. She's two time zones away, so she got confused with the time zones. So she'll be here. Don't go away. We have room for 10 on stage and 15 backstage. So there's only 6 of us on here right now, so don't go anywhere. Did anyone want to say anything while we're waiting for Craig?
Questions?
I would like to say a couple of things. So people that are born in to this or any cult, and when I speak of a cult, I'm talking about one that's very destructive, and you do not get to be your authentic self within this group. It was forced on us. We did not have a choice to give it away. It was inculcated, which means banged into your head with a hammer. We had no choice but to believe this. So we were also taught to squash our intuition and to never listen to that because it was labeled other things such as just bad things. So, I just want to encourage people to pay attention to their intuition, to their gut instincts, and to look at different things, the different places that claim to be critical thinking. Like if you can learn how to critical think, you might be critical thinking and not even know it. I believe my special ed teachers taught me how to critically think, because I would always get stuck on a problem. I'd go to them, and then they'd ask me a few questions. They never told me exactly how to solve it, but just the questions that they asked me had me to go back and try that problem again. And I learned so much from them. I believe they taught me how to critically think. So don't, ignore your gut intuition and like what Gary was talking about, logical fallacies are intriguing, very intriguing when you look them up and find out what they are. You'd be surprised how many of them we were trained to use, especially the sunk cost fallacy, which is kind of like it's cheaper to keep her, or we've invested so much into this organization and we want to make it to the new system kind of mindset. And to, like when Gary was saying, some days you just want to go to bed. If you take on the mindset that you can start the day out, you can start the day over at any time. That kind of helps. Like he was saying, just kind of move that stuff aside and go to just certain things that you can handle. You can start your day over at any time. Because I've had many of those days. But thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Linda. I have to say at this point that what we're talking about, the situation that we were under was not random. There is a technology and techniques that is perfectly developed that knows how to manipulate and exploit people, their emotions, their motives, their abilities. It goes back a long time, gone ways. It was perfected. It was perfected in the modern age under the Nazi regime. It was perfected under the Soviet regime, and the way that they learned, they researched groups of people, large groups of people that they imprisoned one way or the other. They researched them, studied them like lab rats, and learned a technique for exploiting them like we've been exploited in the Watchtower. Watchtower used those techniques on people, on us. We didn't know that. Now we do know that. So now we're under obligation to take on that role of learning what they did, how they did it. Because unless we know what they did and how they did it on us, we're not going to know what to overcome. We're not going to know what to grow beyond. It's like a hidden. It's like a hidden. That are hidden in computers. A virus that they implant a virus in a computer, and it slowly and quietly works its badness. See, we're at the point where we need to go out of our way to learn these things. A lot of people don't want to do that. It's like, well, I don't want to learn. I don't want to pick up anything new. I got my own way of thinking, or I'll think the way I grew up with, and it doesn't work. We need new healthful ways. I think
Craig.
We want to welcome Craig.
Yeah, you got on. Successful. Good job. So you just
welcome, Craig.
You just have to turn on your mic. There you go.
I think we hear you.
Yeah, I don't have headphones, and there's a wicked echo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have to turn off your YouTube.
Yes.
Now that you're on now you're on StreamYard.
Yeah, if you can turn off YouTube, just stay on StreamYard. And you'll get rid of the echo.
Is that better?
Yeah, can you hear us?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, did you get rid of the echo?
Yes,
okay,
thank you.
Great.
See, just practical point. We just coached this. That was a coaching. And look at it. It's
Debbie.
Thank you. My technology sometimes is.
Oh, no.
You're doing fine. You're doing fine.
Yeah. My kids are more computer savvy than myself.
Of course they are.
You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Craig? We've been waiting.
Oh, well, I apologize for being late. But,
no problem.
Well, I live in upstate New York. I'm a licensed therapist. My wife and I have been married going on 23 years. We've adopted 14 children.
14.
We have
Did
4
you
of
say
our own.
14?
We've adopted 14.
One
Yeah, we have 4 of our own. We've been doing foster care for many years. And I met Joe and Fran in their clock shop, and we started talking about religion and faith and spirituality, and I was really interested in what he was telling me about this group, and I've always been intrigued, and I just really was hoping to hear from things something about that I knew nothing about. You know, couple of friends growing up were Jehovah's Witnesses, and it was really kind of mysterious.
Yes, that's the truth.
The way that they did things, and the way that, you know, but you know, raised the way I was, it was, you know, they were good people. The kids were great. It was tolerable. But then the older you get and you start to hear things. I'm also Catholic, so the Catholic Church is a lot of things over the years that have come out. But yeah, I was really just interested in hearing what you folks were going through, and the conversation, and just to kind of listen in.
Well, I appreciate you listening.
And absolutely. I appreciate you letting me in.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
No, well, see, Craig, we suffered, and we from lack of outside interaction with the world. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was brought out that for the witnesses, the world was this bad place outside of the organization that we were to stay away from. And that means we were isolated, forcefully isolated, as Linda brought out, and from youth. Even if a child showed interest in something on the outside, no, you can't do that. No, we don't do that. We're Jehovah's Witnesses. For all sorts of reasons why you can't do that. And
it's always just been, from my perspective, from being from the outside and knowing people that were involved in the church, was that they weren't real open about telling you why they did things the way that they did. And I remember that I was friends with these boys, and they were Jehovah's Witnesses, and everything in their life, they were very polite and very disciplined, but like they were afraid. I remember them being afraid to discuss like the inner workings of their home. Like I was never invited to their home. It was very, like, I remember, I think I told Joe that when we were kids and we were playing a game, at the end of the game, we were all celebrating because our team won, and they were, no, don't do that. My parents are going to be here any minute. Like everything was very, they seemed afraid. I don't know if they were being abused. I don't know if they were being abused by their parents. I don't think they were. But I don't remember. I remember it being very bizarre, the things that you couldn't talk about, and the things that they, you know, because we, you know, as a kid, you ask questions, and they were not an open book. That's for sure.
No, far from it. You're right.
You know, Craig, it was brought out, Gary is a life coach, Gary Alt, and he brought it out that before going to a therapist, there's a really good book to read. This was written by someone who's now an ex-witness, but it's called Cracking the Cult Code for Therapists, What Every Cult Victim Wants Their Therapist to Know. The author is Bonnie Zeman. So she was a witness, she left, she became a therapist, and she wrote this book. So we'd highly recommend, if you want to learn more about what the Jehovah's Witnesses, you know, are about.
It's called Cracking. What was that again?
Cracking, but I can send it to you. Cracking the Cult Code for Therapists. Right on Amazon, I see it. Bonnie Zeman, Zieman. And you'll learn a lot about witnesses, because you just you just got licensed not too long ago. Is that correct?
Yeah. I've been a social worker for about 23 years.
Wow.
But I just started doing therapy, and this just when we talked about it at your shop, it really resonated. Like I just kept thinking about like, wow, that's something I'd never considered. I mean, I know that I remember reading about stuff where there was some allegations about witnesses, and then, but I take those with a grain of salt, just like just like I do everything else. Well, yeah, I'm sure there are bad ones, and I'm sure there's good ones. But to hear, it's mind-boggling the stuff that goes on, and I'm definitely going to get that book. That looks like
Thank you.
it's definitely
No, great.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to jump into working with. Okay, I work primarily with children, and most of the stuff that I do is trauma-based anyway. Cognitive behavioral therapy with children that are victims of all kinds of abuse, and same with adults, years of trauma, and you don't want to go into it without preparing yourself. That's one of the cornerstones to being a social worker, is that you educate yourself about the people that you're trying to help. Yeah. So reading that book is definitely a good start, and I appreciate you giving me that information.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. I wonder if anyone here on the panel has any questions for Craig or any insights you want to share with him, because he knows a little bit about Jehovah's Witnesses, but not too much.
When you were telling your story about being friends with Jehovah's Witness kids when you were a kid, it reminded me of when a friend of mine from school wanted to come meet my parents and let them know that he was a good gentleman and there would be no problem with him associating with me. And I kept telling him, no, this is a bad idea. So he came over, he sat down, and my parents explained to him very, very vaguely and non-specifically why he was not allowed to associate with me. And it's like, we're Jehovah's Witnesses, we're special. But the bottom line is, Jehovah's Witnesses are indoctrinated to believe that the only safe place is associating with other Jehovah's Witnesses, remaining within this organization, and everyone outside of this organization is under the influence of the devil.
That's scary.
So your friends couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Probably didn't want to tell you that, you're going to be thought of as under the influence of the devil. It's pretty, it's just hard to say these things when you're actually at any age. Okay. So it's a very us and them,
it's
black and white kind of group.
Really, yeah. And that's interesting because it really, when you think about it, almost sounds like, okay, I grew up, I worked with a man when I was much younger, and he was my age. We were in our 20s, and he came from a very old, like a Italian family, and his father was so racist that he told his son when I was with him that you can hang around with black people all you want, but don't you ever bring one into my home. And that's the first thing that went into my mind when, like, it doesn't matter what kind of a person you are, because you're not one of us. You're never going to be accepted into my home. You're never going to be loved. And that's terrifying. I mean, that's, when you hear about that, because when I first logged on, Joe was talking about like the whole cult atmosphere. And I was involved in something at one time that a lot of people considered a cult thing. And I could see, the whole joke was don't drink the Kool-Aid, don't drink the Kool-Aid. But I could see where people believe that and why they would think that that's the way it is. And in retrospect, it probably is kind of a cult after hearing what Joe said about society as a whole and, socially constructed reality that we all have. Yeah, wow, that's just crazy. Like, yeah, that's probably why they never.
one of the first things that they use in recruitment is letting you know that your heart is treacherous and you cannot trust it. So they compare a human's imperfectness to God's perfectness, and they say you're supposed to find the church that God's using. And by the way, it's us. And then they gaslight you to no longer trust yourself when they give you a choice of, who do you want to pick, you or God? And you have to pick one, and you decide God, because that's the good idea, right? And so you've been gaslit to believe that your own decision-making skills are not in your best interest, and the decision-making skills and direction of the leadership of this group is the same as directions from God himself. So what the leadership says all the way down this hierarchy is all coming from God himself. So when an elder, tells someone to do something, well, that's God telling us to do it, okay? So they had to gaslight you to not trust your own intuition, your own decision-making skills. You're not reliable. This organization can direct you in the right way, God's way, So that deception has to happen.
Wow.
In this group and destructive groups, that's kind of a thing.
And here,
so can I ask you how long it took you to realize all that stuff that you just said? Like a life was a lifetime?
Like 10 years ago, I figured it out. I'm 61.
But had you been? Were you born into the church?
Yes, I was.
But here's the treachery. Here's the treachery on top of what Linda just explained. So let's say a person realizes, oh, this isn't cool, basically. And let's say other members in the family think it is cool. Now, this is where the problem starts, where the snare comes in, because the second president of this organization proclaimed proudly, he said, religion is a snare and a racket. He said that. Why did he say that? Well, he said that. What they do is, as a person starts studying, they come to learn that it's not good to associate with people who are not of the same mind of Jehovah's Witnesses. So that means they've got to start cutting off associations. That means if members of a family begin to study and one or several of them don't want to continue, that means the one who wants to continue is behooved to shun those other members of their family. And that's the way they make like an interlocking kind of a task grab onto the person and splitting them off from the rest of their people.
I want to say something.
Yes, please.
Well, first off, I didn't hear anything from Richard. I noticed that Richard just unmuted himself, but regarding to racism, it just really bothers me that somebody has a problem with the color of your skin. Like, I was married to a black man and my best friend was black, so I don't understand why, and also my ancestors, I'm half Filipino, so in the Philippines, a lot of my cousins are dark. They're like dark skin, like Indian. And that's because of the sun. Like, the sun makes you darker, and like, I just don't understand why the color of your skin has to make somebody judge you like you're stupid or you're it just makes no sense to me, because I have aunties that are darker than my mother. Like,
my wife,
it's just a color. Like, these are colors right here.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
My wife and I have adopted a lot of kids, and 4 of them are black kids. And I wasn't raised around racism, but it wasn't as we weren't as aware of how damaging it is. Back when I was a kid, you know, you heard off-color jokes just like you would about Polish people or homosexuals, or you know what I mean. It was just very rude and crude. But you know, as you get older, you would hope that people would realize, wow, that was really terrible to even joke about that stuff. And unfortunately, it still exists in our world. And I agree with you. It's just a color, and it's just and to me, it's just it's amazing to meet people with different backgrounds, you know, and why would you want to judge someone based on that? So
you know, if I can jump in here, that race ism is an ism, and which means it's a belief system. Generally, that's designed. It's literally a man-made situation that is designed to do what the Bible said would happen. It says that man has dominated man to his injury. So now this is a technique by men to dominate, even though they're all men. But some men are going to dominate other men. Why would they do that? Well, is
it jealousy?
Well, power.
Is everybody
control.
jealous of each other or something?
Well, maybe. Look, there's no justification for it, but there's a reason for it, and the reason is to maintain power and control of a certain group, and they choose to do it different ways. One of the ways is if you're a different religion, you're bad. Mm-hmm. If you're a different color, you're bad. If you're a different height, you're bad. How about that? And it's all distinctions that are isms. That are designed to dominate. And so you have to ask yourself, well, I don't want to be a part of this. Well, if you don't want to be a part of it, you almost have to get into another culture where there isn't that ism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has to do too, like the location that you live.
Yeah.
Like I grew up right here in Frankfort, New York. I had 100 in my classroom, graduating class, and we did not have one black person in our whole school, and mostly Italian. And then if you weren't Italian, you were American.
It's terrible.
They had two Catholic churches. You had the church where the Italians went, and then you had a Catholic church where the Americans went. So talk about, you know, discrimination right within the Catholic Church.
People in power like to remain in power. They don't like to lose their power. So they come up with a means to maintain or generate more power, even if it means hurting someone else.
Yeah, I have to interrupt again. It looks like Malia is in the chat. So Malia, if you go in the chat and tap on Fixing My Faith, the banner with the StreamYard, it'll let you in. They'll let you in on the stage. So we'd like to hear from Malia if you're listening. And Richard, did you have something to say?
I totally agree with everything, like especially fallen ashes. I definitely agree with what she said. I just feel like with my case, I just try to avoid all religion and all, because I feel like religion is the seed of racism. That's how, you know, they tried to bring Catholicism to the Americas, and it was part of it was interwoven into that. So I try to stay away from all religion, period. I'm more agnostic, I always say, because, you know, I mean, I'm kind of on the fence right now. I don't know if it's a God or not. So that's why I say I'm agnostic. I'm kind of on a journey. I do believe it is a higher power. I'm more on that end of leaning to that side, but I just don't feel like it's Christianity.
Richard, just to show you, there are many, many, many people now in theologians who are noticing that many people take the same view you have. They're leaving religions, realizing that, but yet they realize, but people need to collect together in some kind of unity.
Yeah.
You know what I never
not,
see?
but not
But
religion. But
yeah.
not religion.
It's a lot of religion brings a lot of racism. I feel like it feeds into a whole lot. Because that's again Muslims, they attack the people to try to force their religion into dominance.
Yeah.
Same with Catholicism, like in America, everything, Christianity as a whole.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Ashley,
you.
you're going to say something, and then.
I'm glad that I'm an apostate. I'm just glad that I'm nothing. I'm just human.
Me too.
I'm just a
Same
human.
here. I agree. I'm just human. I just want to be me. I don't need to have a title.
When you say you're nothing, you mean non-religious.
Yeah, the only religion I was before was a Jehovah's Witness Christian. So I just nothing now. Like, I'm just
That's same
at
here.
this point.
The Jehovah's Witness.
Can we thank you, Fallon. Thank you.
Good comments.
Richard. Can we welcome Malia? Malia is a life coach, and
Hi, Malia.
you want to say something? Yeah, let us know a little bit about yourself, Malia.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a mindset coach and a spiritual coach. So I was Jehovah's Witness for 39 years. I left 5 years ago. And something that I've come to realize and teach a lot of people is if you think about being a child and never have had your parents teach you about God, never have religion teach you about God, what would you believe? A lot of children actually have memories of past lives and know that they existed. I mean, even me at 9 years old, I asked my mom where I existed before, and she said, "You didn't. If your dad and I wouldn't have got together, you never would have existed." And I said, "That's not true." And I just knew.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. And so if you think about it, the system that we live in, the government, the school system, the religion, it's all to instill fear in us because we're really powerful beings. We are incredibly powerful beings. We have love inside of us. We have intelligence inside of us. And it has been so suppressed by our parents' conditioning and school conditioning telling us if we don't get a good grade that we're a failure. We're failing, things like that is what we have all these limiting beliefs just put on us. And it's not until you really let go of those because they were never yours. We take on what other people's judgments have said about us, and we start believing that it's true, and none of it's true. And it's when you really for me, I had to be alone for a very long time. I really cut out all of the toxic relationships in my life, and I was very, very alone. It was not fun, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So, while shunning and disfellowshipping is harsh, I do not agree with it, but I would not be where I am if I wasn't ever alone. So I think that, being alone with your own thoughts and figuring out who you really are away from all of the judgment and the fear, because really everything boils down to love or fear. If you live your life in love, you're going to make decisions based on loving yourself and loving others. And when you live in fear, it's just always going to be painful and difficult. So I really just
Malia, thank you for mentioning that. We were in for 36 years. We were raised differently. We were raised Catholic. So we had a different point of view as well. But what I noticed when we entered the witnesses, there were so many offers of you can have this, you can see this, you can do this, you can. In other words, it appealed to greed. In other words, the person wanted the prize. I want that prize. I can't wait until this. I sure look forward to this. And it worked. Greed is powerful. So they say that fear and guilt are powerful. Fear, obligation, and guilt. And I had one more, greed. And that struck me as I was in that organization. That boy, oh boy, they're really pushing this prize thing. And people were greedy. We'd be out in service. Just as an example, Craig.
You've heard it.
We'd be out in service and people would see these houses and say,
excuse me, service is door to door.
Door to door, Craig.
Okay.
where you'd go and basically were promoting the organization, basically. And
right. That's where non-witnesses see them coming and shut the lights off.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't answer the door.
I can remember my family saying, "Don't answer the door. Don't answer."
Smart move.
I mean, for a kid, I was like,
we would do that to people at Halloween.
That's right.
What were you going to
See,
say?
and these things, and this is where I start to point the finger at myself and say, the organization is going to destroy itself. The decisions they're making, they are destroying themselves. I don't have to act against them at all. Mm-hmm. What I need to do is take care of myself and develop the kind of either personality or abilities or thinking ability to avoid falling into that snare again. Mm-hmm. Because snares are no fun. Mm-hmm. And religion is proven to be a snare. And so many people are at the same point now. They're recognizing we need to do something to navigate the system in a way that's safer. It's like, navigating rough waters because you want to get to another nice place.
If we can go back
nice
to
place, right? That's a good point.
That's right, Ash.
Yeah.
If we can go back to Malia, Joe and I met Malia in 2023 at the protest in Washington, D.C., and we've kept in touch with each other. But how did you go from being a Jehovah's Witness, leaving, and now you're a life coach? And also, just to introduce Malia, Gary Alt is also a life coach. So just briefly, if you can tell us.
Well, okay, briefly. I'm not very good at brief stories.
I know,
I'll do
it's
my
hard.
best. Yeah. So, I was abused as a kid, and when I got disfellowshipped the last time, they used my abuse against me. That it was my fault, and that was a wake-up call for me. That was when I really was like, this isn't it. I can't do this anymore. So I did still believe in God, and I wanted to try other religions. So I went to a church group, I went to a women's group, and I was just questioning things the way I was never allowed to. So I was like, I don't like this scripture. Why did Lot sleep with his daughters? And God was okay with that. Why did God turn her into pillar of salt just because she looked at her house? I don't think that's love. Why did he have bears maul children because they called an old man Baldy? That's not love. And these people were like, you don't understand. You have to trust in God. And I'm like, I've heard all that. That doesn't work for me anymore. So I went to church, and it triggered me, and I didn't like it. And so I was like, I don't know what I believe. I don't know who I am. I just needed to figure it out. So I read a lot of books. I dove into spirituality for a while. I think I was atheist. And then I got very, very, very depressed. And I mourned my family. I started posting videos about my story on YouTube and connected with a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. And immediately that labeled me apostate. So my parents didn't speak to me again, my family, everybody. So I got pretty much suicidal. And I was like, I have 3 kids, and I was like, I can't be in this place. I've got to bring
Malia, forgive me for interrupting, but for the benefit of Craig, you mentioned you were declared.
Craig is worldly. Craig is worldly, Malia.
For the benefit of Craig, Malia said she was declared an apostate. Now, an apostate is basically like the devil's sister or brother, and you have to stay away from apostates because they're dangerous for your spirituality.
They're poison.
So you don't listen to them.
Blasphemy.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying it's blasphemy. It's the worst sin you can commit.
Yeah. So in other words, that's how they drive them apart with this apostasy thing. That's how they break up families. Go ahead, Malia.
Yeah. No. Thank you for that. Yeah. So I started to experiment a little bit with psilocybin because I had studied psilocybin, and I wanted. I was hearing about how it was curing cancer and depression and all kinds of things. And I spent a lot of time alone, and I started to microdose psilocybin. And I just started to understand things on a deeper level that made the most sense because nothing else was making any sense. And it was really just about love and fear, and that this system that we live in is created to keep us at a low vibration, a low frequency, so that we can be controlled. And it's not just religion, it's everything.
Everything. It's
Everything.
everything.
Yes. And so I think when I started to discover that, because we just get so hard on ourselves,
Yeah.
that I had more power than I realized, that I was a loving human being, and it didn't matter what other people thought about me because I lived in my own head. So I can dwell on it all day long, or I could dwell on other things all day long. And I just started to make choices that, we have to live in the present. If we live in the past or the future, we're stressed. And then when you start just living in the present moment and you start appreciating what you do have and thinking, what can I do today to make this the best day? I started living like that, and my life really started to change. And then I wanted to share that.
Malia, can I ask you, so do you have the rights to your own feelings?
Yes.
Oops, did you hear, Malia?
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So no, again, just bear with me. Do you have the rights to your own feelings?
Yes, I believe so.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I asked Ash the question earlier. I said, do you have the rights to your own feelings? See, the Watchtower says we do not have the rights to our own feelings.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and that the heart is treacherous. I think somebody might have brought that up earlier. I think
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is the perfect way to make you not listen to your. I mean, we're born in our own body. Why would we trust something outside of us?
Yeah. For domination, so that they dominate us.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like for me, mushrooms are very sensitive. I mean, I should I like mushrooms. They're great. They are. They're just powerful. So I got to make sure I'm not. They're very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm very emotional. I'm a very emotional person.
So am I.
Me too.
Fran thinks I am too.
Yeah.
I am. I agree. No, and see, and the point is this: is that you know yourself, you use yourself. You know, it's like it's your self, and you take possession of your self.
Right.
And that principle is so against every principle that the Watchtower inflicted on people, that we are good for nothing slaves.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
As soon as a person
and
sets that
undeserved
aside,
kindness.
that's right.
So, Malia, what is your approach as a life coach with people?
I specialize in somatic healing. I am beginning to start to work with psilocybin, and I mean, but it's really optional. Not everyone needs it. You don't have to use that, but I do. In my experience, it accelerates the healing process very quickly because it forces you to purge your emotions. So I work with the body. We all have our nervous system, and when we change our thinking, our thoughts, and our limiting beliefs, our body has to catch up because we hold all of it in our nervous system, in our muscles, and in our body. So I teach people how to release first the pain. I'm not a talk therapist, so I deal with breath work and relaxation techniques, and really just allowing your body to purge those emotions, and then retraining your thought patterns and the self-love. People, it's different for everyone. I like to ask people what they like, because some people like meditation, some people like journaling, some people do like to talk about their trauma. So it's different for each person. But I do a lot of somatic healing. I'm starting to have little mini retreats at the clubhouse at my house where women especially can come and feel their feelings and release it out of their bodies and have like a reset. And I believe you should be able to do this not at just retreats where you have to spend thousands of dollars. And I mean, those are awesome and amazing, but not everybody can do it, you know? So I want to make it a weekly thing where people can come and release, reset, get that out of their body, move their body, and start the week fresh, you know, with a better mindset.
Malia, are you familiar with Deanna? In is she in Ecuador? Are you familiar with her? Okay, she also believes the same way you are, and she does help people, and basically the same thing. She had she had quite the experience growing up, abuse, 3 marriages. But it was horrible.
And she helps, you guides people through the use of the mushrooms.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I would love to meet her.
I will send you her link. And can you tell us where you are?
Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
Wow.
And how can
I also do online sessions as well. So
okay. And how can anyone get in touch with you?
I am on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Okay, and should we just look up Malia Thompson or?
Yeah, Malia Thompson.
Great. Craig, do you have any experience with mushrooms?
A lot of Grateful Dead concerts when I was younger. I will. All joking aside, I will say that my mother had lived with my wife and my family and myself, and she was in the I don't know, the middle stages of Alzheimer's, and I started microdosing her because they were giving her all of these prescription medications that were for depression and everything, but we found that for the short period of time that we did microdose her, she did seem to be happier. My experiences with hallucinogenics were all positive. Even the negative ones, I found them positive. I think that is why I went into the field that I went into, was when you do the psychedelics and you start to realize just how small you are, and you start to realize that, you know, all the things that you joke about, but, you know, contemplating your hand for hours but the deeper part of it is that it did open up different kinds of thought, and it did make you more aware of your own humanity, and that you know, so I didn't I haven't done them in a very long time, mostly because the recovery from that, for me, was very difficult. And also being a dad and having kids, I really kind of need to be on top of my game.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of our kids have severe disabilities, so you're even more aware of what's going on around you. But I do think that there's a time, personally, I think there's a time and a place, and I would never tell somebody not to do it, just as much as I would never encourage somebody to do it. It has to be your own decision. And if you do decide to go that route, it has its benefits. It definitely does. But a lot of people are really, I've met people in practice who abused all kinds of drugs, like heroin, methamphetamine, fentanyl, you name it, but were horribly terrified to try any kind of hallucinogenic. And I always found that to be like, I don't get it, you know.
Well, they say self-awareness is one of the most self-abusive thing you can do.
Yeah.
You know, because you're delving into something that you may not want to admit. Mm-hmm. And it's something you have to come to grips with. And until you do that, you're really never going to come at peace with yourself.
Yeah, and you may think that you are self-aware. There were many times in my life where I was like, I have it together.
Yeah.
And then something comes along and hits you, and you're
Boom.
like, I don't know shit.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. One of my favorite professors in college was like, the true knowledge is admitting that realizing that you really don't know anything. And that's why you're supposed to just absorb and learn.
That's right.
And
That's right.
Yeah, what I have heard about using mushrooms, though, you really shouldn't do it on your own. You really should have someone experienced.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever. I don't think I've ever done it on my own. I do remember one time being dropped off and still experiencing it, and I was alone for a little while. But I can't imagine like just taking them and sitting in a room by myself.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
The last time I did them,
yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think it also depends on how much you're taking. Like, because I have taken some, like, when I was like just not giving a shit when I first left the religion, and I just was like, all right, this whole time this was a lie, so I'm just gonna go to the bar and just fuck around. And I just took some shrooms and I went to the bar, and it was actually a really good time. But I didn't take a lot. I took like a tiny bit, and it did enough for me. And I just knew that this stuff was powerful. Like, I can't take. You got to really be careful what you're taking. If it's a drug, you got to be careful. Any drug you take, you got to be careful how much you take.
Absolutely.
That's all. That's what I understood. I mean,
I do remember one of the main reasons that I tried it was that after reading about how that the United States government was experimenting with it, and basically the train of thought that I had learned was that they saw the power of it, of waking people up to what's really going on in your mind. And then all of a sudden it was banned. Now it's illegal. So they went from experimenting with it to saying,
well,
don't do it. It's terrible. And just like, marijuana and whatever, I'm very libertarian when it comes to that sort of thing. People are going to want what they want. Like I said earlier, either you're going to do it or you don't. And I would never tell you you shouldn't or that you should, but it should be available. And it definitely changed me. I know that. But I never really got into like abusing it, like doing it all the time. It was very situational, like I said, at a concert.
For me, it's situational too. I agree with that.
Yeah, at a concert or, with a bunch of friends. Did it one time with a bunch of friends, and I felt like I walked 100 miles when in reality, I don't think I got off the ground. Just kind of laid there and laughed and cried. And
you're triggering me with all sorts of memories, Craig. See, we're 73. We grew up right into the drug generation, which was starting in
the 60s.
60s.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And the big thing, it was experimenting with drugs. Experimenting. It was like what you did, and there was so much. It was so in the culture, and the thing you come to find out, as you led to, it was introduced by the government. It was introduced into the culture by the CIA. Basically, they introduced it to use for people to experiment with it, so that they can gain knowledge, so they can do studies on the humans that were using it. And then when they found out, like you said, it was beneficial, when used properly. Yeah, they all of a sudden they pulled it.
I know that in the field of therapy, there's a lot of stuff coming up about using substances, like Malia was saying about psilocybin and ketamine therapy and different kinds of approaches, and I think that that's fantastic that you're allowing that they're allowing people to use their own judgment when it comes to what they're doing to help themselves. I just want to say before I kind of want to keep rambling on because but hearing this brief time that I've been on here, the experiences and the workings of how the witnesses, you folks are you're an inspiration that you survived that. That is, I deal with a lot of the kids that we've taken in over the years were horribly abused. But it's one thing to be horribly abused and then be horribly abused and be indoctrinated into a culture, a cult of control and fear. I don't know how. I mean, it's amazing to me that you folks.
Thank you for saying the X's are a very brave group of people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Who are showing, as much as they were put through this, they're taking on the responsibility of learning and growing their way out of it because they need to. They absolutely need to, and they are. And I maintain the attitude that I only want to be where I can be inspired, and in turn, it kind of forced me to have to inspire others. To me, that's the place. That's the place I want to be. And the witnesses, the ex-witnesses, are that group. They do inspire me.
We have about 5 minutes left. We usually end at 10. So before Ruby comes on and tells us what the movie is tonight, anyone have any final thoughts? We appreciate you coming on, Malia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sorry about the time.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't think about even asking that. Yeah, next time.
That's okay. But it sounds like this discussion could keep going because there's so much that hasn't been said and people like to share. And Craig, we appreciate you coming on. Craig, how do we get in touch with you if someone is looking for a therapist?
Well, I don't. I'm not really big in social media, but I do have an email. Actually, I will type it into the chat.
Okay, great.
That way, I'm not really big on social media. I do go on like Instagram, but it's mostly to watch.
Yeah, well, I mean, any way to communicate is better. No, there's social. That's okay. What I mentioned, and maybe you heard, is that we have to develop a local community because we may not always be able to rely on media like this. It may not be around. Mm-hmm. So we also need to develop a local community. Our neighbors, people that we can walk to see locally. We need to do that.
Is this every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday. We do this every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely be back. This was a great conversation. Yeah, it was great.
Thank you for coming on.
Everyone makes it what it is.
And Richard
contributes.
Richard, it was your first time coming on. How do you feel about it?
Fantastic. Yes, I'm definitely going to be back for more.
Thank you.
I have to say that I really mean this. The worst experience in my life was with the people in the Watchtower. Now we had good encounters and we did develop friendship, but you couldn't develop the kind of connection that we have like this here. We couldn't. But now when we're out and the ones that are out, it's the absolute opposite. It's the best relations and the best experiences we've ever had in our life. And I mean that. I truly thank you all. I thank you all for being out.
Thank you.
And Ruby, what's the movie tonight?
So the movie that is going to be played tonight on Discord, if you haven't already joined the server, please click the link and join Discord. We are going to be watching the movie called What About Bob from 1991.
Yeah,
I
All
love
of
that
these,
very
movie.
appropriate.
Holy smokes, that's
and
incredible.
I've never seen it before. You guys know
Oh,
me. I'm trying to catch up with culture.
you did.
Oh, it's a good
Oh, it's a
one.
great
Me
movie.
too.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it afterward, Ruby. It's a
Okay,
fabulous
Ruby,
movie.
yeah, just for those that don't know that just joined us, can you explain Discord?
So Discord is, I mean, it was really intended for gamers to communicate with one another while they're playing a game and streaming at the same time. So we're repurposing it. We stream on there. We host virtual events. We just hang out virtually in different rooms on there. So you're going to see that event there in the general chat. And all you have to do is click the join green button once I start the stream. And then the movie will start literally in 2 minutes. So if you're not there, it will be playing. Unfortunately, I won't be able to watch with you guys, but I'll leave my computer on, streaming the movie for you guys. So you'll see my picture there, but I won't be behind the screen. I usually am there watching it with you guys, but tonight I have some errands to run. So you guys enjoy the movie. I'll watch it again another time, and then we could talk about it and just hang out. So click that link right now, please. Join the Discord server. Join the movie night. We'll be streaming in the movie room on the left-hand side of where all the tabs are at. So we'll see you there.
Okay, thank you,
Yay.
Ruby. Thank you all for coming on.
Thank
Love
you.
you. Love you so
Bye.
much.
Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
Love all
Thank you,
y'all.
guys. We'll
Thank
see
you,
you guys
Night.
next
Good night,
Wednesday. Yep.
everybody.
Thank you, Joe and Fran. Hey, much love.
Yeah.
Nice to
What-
meet you, Malia.
Thank
And
you.
also
You too.
Richard.
It was lovely
Yes.
to meet
Thank
you
you.
all.
Thank
Yeah.
Have a
you.
good
Thank
night.
you, Malia.
Take care, everybody. Take care.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye.
we're rolling the outro now. Bye,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye.
In making friends.
I hate people. I hate friends.